Hello, I'm finally here. I know I'm running behind today. My apologies. I'm going to give a few minutes for people who are going to arrive. Maybe some of you are having the same kind of morning. Maybe you're not going to be able to make it to the live. If that's the case, that's okay. Totally understand. I wanted to do this earlier as I had originally planned, but I had another late night last night. I'm just in this period in my life where I'm having to push pretty hard right now. I got a lot of stuff that I'm driving home, kind of wrapping up, bringing to fruition. It's demanding. There's also been a lot going on just in my day-to-day reality, a lot of big transitions in my life. It's a really pivotal juncture for me. So I've been holding a lot of energy. I've been holding a lot of space. It's been intense at times, but I'm doing really well through it. And the one thing that does kind of um, get me to stop everything or, give myself the grace to do something a little later than originally planned or make any kind of U-turns is my body. And I'm doing this live for all of you that also deal with these kind of issues, whether they are body image issues or whether you've always had a complicated relationship with food, you don't really know quite how to define it, whether you're struggling with your health and you're wanting to get on track, maybe you want to get in shape, you want to get fit, and you're struggling with what you are aiming for in light of the ideals that are kind of perpetuated out there by social media, in magazines, in Hollywood, and you're comparing it to where you're at now. Maybe that's affecting your self-esteem. Maybe you've been on countless diets and you just really just don't even know how to eat anymore. You have a lot of confusion around this. You have a complicated, cantankerous relationship with food in your body. Some of you would fall into the EDNOS category. That is eating disorder not otherwise specified. It means that there's not technically any clinical criteria established as such yet, but we have to understand with that distinction. When we're looking at clinical criteria, we're looking at what will insurance pay for, where will, the bill be footed by some outside entity. And so usually the dictates around that are pretty tough, pretty strict, and really when it's only in the extreme, often when it's too late. Okay, so ideally we catch things when it's at the EDNOS stage, where the relationship with food and body is just starting to go off the rails. Okay, and that's the best time to get something back on track. If you're starting to have food, body image issues now, maybe you never did before, and it's something that's kind of new for you, this is something you want to be live to, okay? You want to pay attention to this because it absolutely can have an effect that can be detrimental to your very life if it spirals out of control. And you'd be surprised how fast something like that can spiral out of control, especially if you're going through a high stress period in your life. So I just want to say that if you're going through Panchakarma on the Broadcoven channel and you're ready for a change in your life, you're ready to change your health, but you feel a little conflicted about that because you're not quite sure the best way to head forward. You have a lot of questions about food. You feel awkward about bringing it in on the Broadcoven channel because you feel like everybody there is just kind of like in a different place in terms of the relationship with their bodies, with food. This is a place for you where you can bring it all in, where, you can ask anything you need to. Nothing is too out of the box. Nothing is too much, okay? Nothing is an overshare, all right? This is a very safe space. I know we're in an online format, so that does give you visibility, okay? And this is something that you do need to be aware of. This is a public live, all right? And it's public for a reason. It's public so everybody can benefit, everybody can benefit that is here for this live or that tunes in to the replay. that maybe doesn't feel like they have a voice, or they're scared to bring their truth forward, or they're looking for help and support, but they don't have the courage to do it just yet, and they feel awkward about it. So the more that you have, you know, the strength and the courage to share your story, to share your piece, to share your voice and bring that forward, the more that you create a safe space for other people to do the same. And that's a really beautiful thing. I got my dirty chai going on this morning. I still have my vices, but I got my dirty bulletproof chai to start my day. I've had to do some modulation recently because I've been going through a pretty high stress time, and I always know for myself with my history, and I'll just briefly share that because many of you who are on the Cobra's Medicine Bag channel, you already know, but I have struggled with eating disorder, anorexia specifically. You wouldn't know that from looking at me, but it's something that I developed issues with from a very young age, starting at about the age of 7. I did have a couple times in my life where I had an intervention because my behavior around food just kind of got out of control. I got out of my realm of being able to rein it in. I wasn't really able to see that or connect with that at that time because I was too disassociated. Once was when I was about 17 years old, and an intervention was kind of called between, you know, my kind of like adopted family at that time. I was living with um, my then boyfriend's father, and they kind of like pulled people in and sat me down and had a talk with me. I'm not so sure how much good that really did at the time, and more just kind of aggravated me, upset me. I think a lot of you can relate to that who've been put in that position. It felt really uncomfortable, and interventions are never easy, right? Okay, interventions are never easy. But I think it was necessary, you know, maybe it could have been handled with a little bit more sensitivity, maybe a little more discretion. I think that this is a piece that often gets missed when somebody is dealing with issues like this, that there is a certain kind of stigmatism involved, that sometimes there can be shame around it. There can be a sense of humiliation. A lot of these issues stem from trauma, they stem from abuse. So there is kind of a sensitivity required in bringing forward safe space and even in an intervention capacity. And I think a lot of people fall short in this regard. I think this is a piece that's often missed in eating disorder, the way that the people that support the person that they care about that's struggling with the issue, the way that they need support, the way they need guidance and directive in how to move forward and deal with these issues, and deal with it in a way that actually can encourage the person to enter recovery, get support, as opposed to driving them deeper into the disorder. I do want to say that this isn't like something that somebody chooses, like your brain has to be hardwired for this. It's found very commonly in alcoholic bloodlines. Alcoholism runs very heavy on both sides of my family. Because of that, I don't really drink very often. And a lot of times you can have this kind of transference behavior among eating disorder sufferers, where they'll go into recovery for eating disorder and they start to make headway there, and then they transfer the behavior to another addiction like alcohol. Is really common. It stimulates the same areas of the brain that are stimulated with those with eating disorder issues, and that's actually because there's a certain kind of like glitch. View it as like a glitch in the matrix of your brain and the way your brain functions when you come from an alcoholic bloodline. And if you really think about it, alcohol at its base value is just like sugar. Okay, so this is why a lot of people that come from alcoholic bloodlines might struggle with eating disorder issues like bulimia or binge eating disorder, comfort eating, things along these lines. But certainly they've also found a direct correlation between alcoholic bloodlines and cases of anorexia and bulimia. I have always struggled with initially anorexia. That's what came on for me at the time. I was very young. I was about 7 years old. And I always had issues with my body. I never felt comfortable in my body. I often didn't feel like I belonged. I felt like I just didn't fit in this world a lot of times. And that's just been my experience throughout my life. I feel different about that now. I have a different perspective, but I've done a lot of healing work, and it took a lot of time and a lot of deep diving into some really difficult to look at material, but I'm grateful that I did it. And I do want to tell all of you, one thing that you kind of hear when you go into eating disorder recovery is you'll be told that you're always going to have this, you never can heal. And I just want to say that's not true. Okay, it's not true. I have not been engaged in eating disorder behavior since I went into recovery, in terms of getting the emotional support, the therapeutic support. And so that really happened for me. My goodness, let me think here. I got to think back. I got to think back a ways. It's a ways back, okay? I believe that was like 2004. Okay, 2004. Prior to that, I was recovered from anorexia, but my behavior had kind of gone more into the realm of emotional eating, sometimes binging. I still had, the core issue there. I didn't pull it out from the root. I did my physical healing. Recovered from anorexia since I was 23 years old. I'm about to turn 51, so I got quite a bit of recovery from anorexia under my belt. I know I'm never going to go back to treating myself in that way. I know when I'm stressed. I know when I need extra sleep. I know when I need to move into self-care mode. I know when I need to give myself grace and compassion, and that it's not about perfection anymore. I used to be highly perfectionistic. I still am in certain regards, and in other regards, I still give myself wiggle room. Like today, I'm normally pretty perfectionistic about my work, but I try to give myself wiggle room when I need to show up a little later, when I need to take a day off, when I need to pace myself. So these are things that have all very much changed. And if you've struggled with eating disorder, in particular, something like anorexia, you know that the thinking is very black and white. You can be very harsh with yourself. You can be your worst critic. And the perfectionism is so like extreme that, you'll put yourself in a detriment to make sure you do everything just so. So I really got over that, and I've been over that for a long time, but it's pretty much because I had the bejesus scared out of me when I had my crisis at the age of 23. It was very severe. And I'm lucky to be alive. Okay, I'm lucky to be alive. I'm not going to get into the particulars of that. This is not a channel. It's like going to give you tips on how to be an anorexic, how to, cheat the system, anything like that. I think that those kind of channels, those kind of blogs, things like that are doing a horrible disservice to people. This is a horrible, horrible thing to be trapped in. This is nothing that should be encouraged. There's nothing glamorous about it. It's a lot of suffering. You don't want to have eating disorder issues. Believe me, you really don't. You don't want eating disorder issues. And there's a lot of damage that's left behind, and not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually in your life. Okay. So it's not a game. It's not something to glamorize. It's not something to make fun of. If you meet somebody who says, I'm recovered from anorexia, maybe they're very heavy now. You can't judge a book by its cover. This is very common experience for those who had eating disorder issues to later put on a lot of weight. The reason being is that they tanked their digestive systems. They completely threw their body into crisis mode, fight or flight. Nervous system activated. Hormones are now all off. Cortisol is at an all-time high. Adrenal burnout is present. And the body has learned, like, any day there's going to be a famine. Any day there's not going to be food. This is very, very strong in the case of both anorexia and bulimia. This happens very frequently. And so the person will go into recovery, and it's like, okay, that's great. You're not doing that anymore, but you spend, years and years and years and years and years and years and years programming your body in a certain way. And so this is the backlash. People often get really sick down the road too. They struggle with all kinds of issues. In the case of anorexia and bulimia, they may struggle with osteoporosis. They may struggle with bone density loss. I lost a lot of bone density. It's pretty scary. I had my bone density screening done right after my crisis at the age of 23, and the nurse practitioner who did it was horrified. She said that it was like I was an 80-year-old woman on the verge of osteoporosis, and I was 23 at the time. So that's frightening. I never will get that bone back. That's something you need to understand. When you lose your bone, you lose your bone. The most you can do is fortify what you have, strengthen what you have. You can do that with strength training is very important. Weightlifting is very important. It can help preserve the bone that you got. It can also help strengthen all your, supporting muscles, and that can help you greatly, all right? Digestion is a big problem too. It's another thing that needs to be addressed after you struggle with the eating disorder, in particular if you were a bulimic or if you have anorexia, if you're in a malnourished state. Oh my gosh, I'm getting so much sentience. I don't know why I'm getting so much sentience. There's not even anybody here right now. But I got a lot of sentience, so I have a feeling that maybe somebody's going to tune in for this that is struggling with something. Maybe they haven't identified it as such up to this point, right? This is why it's important to talk about things, because sometimes people just know, like, well, something's off, but I'm not really sure what's going on with me, They don't have a clear idea of what's really happening. And so I think it's important that we open up these kind of conversations, and also that we get real about what happens. So I don't really like some of the stuff that I see out there. I mean, I like humor and I like dark humor, but some humor is just really in poor taste, like these shirts with, really heavy people wearing these shirts that say recovered anorexic. It's like, people don't really think about how damaging some stuff is. Some stuff just really isn't funny. When somebody had to face, their mortality and had to go through a really grueling recovery process. Hello, I saw somebody just dropped in. That's not something to make light of. It just isn't. Certain things aren't funny. There's a lot of other things I could bring in that aren't funny, that people tend to joke about, but it's because this world has gotten so desensitized, Nobody's connected to the emotions anymore. A lot of stuff is done online. A lot of stuff is done over the World Wide Web, and when you're online, it's like there's this screen in between me and you. You're not right in front of me. You're not feeling my energy. You're not feeling my emotions. You're not looking into my eyes, which is why I will often, like when I'm doing one of these lives, I'll bring my face in really close so you can like feel like you're actually like connecting with me. And I try to bring, my energy really forward. So I'm sharing myself in a very transparent way, in an authentic way that allows you to connect with the heart of what I'm bringing in, that allows you to connect with the feeling of what I'm bringing in. It's also why I bring in Reiki. I got a little selenite here. Selenite is a really beautiful mineral. It's a form of gypsum. And I love the way it like refracts the light. It's got a very silky energy. It's attuned with angelic frequencies. It's very clearing. And I just feel like bringing this in and maybe doing just like kind of just some clearing of the energy. Just calming the energy. I also want to come into this space. This isn't going to be really in depth today. This is more just an intro, an introduction, and to give you some things to think about as you explore the material. Do you see my manicure? This is why I don't paint my nails very often, like playing guitar, messing around, tinkering with things. Like it's just within a day or two, my manicure is ruined, This is why I love painting my nails. I love the way it looks, but I just want to call in some Reiki too. If you don't wish to receive the Reiki, just say no, thank you. But for the rest of you, just be open to it. Say yes. Just a moment, Teddy. I know. Give me just a moment, Teddy, please. Everybody wants something this morning. This is what my morning has been like. You know, this is what my life has been like in general for a while. A lot of people don't realize how much space I hold constantly. You know, it's a lot. It's a lot. And there's times that I get overloaded and I just need a little space for myself. You know, I need a little support, you know. And my support is just, you know, having time to myself, time to get clear, time to center, time to connect with nature, time to sleep in, time to do nothing, time to play. Yeah. You know, everybody has a different way of recharging. So hopefully that'll bring in some supportive energy for you. I'm going to let Ted out here. I heard you, Mr. J. Yeah. That's part of why I ran late. Ted's been really, I don't know if it's because there's a storm that's coming in, but he's been a little antsy today. He was antsy last night as well. He kept me up for quite a while. And he kept waking me up too, so my sleep was really broken. We did really call in Fairy last night, so maybe the Fairy were playing with Ted, and that's what kind of kept him busy. So basically, I just want to kind of like drop in and talk about how you'll approach the Grace in Crisis and Roots with Wings courses that are forming the basis of the community Panchakarma that we are doing over on Broadcoven. And if you're not on Broadcoven, my other channel, I highly recommend you head on over there. We got a community Panchakarma going on. And we are working with 2 courses that I created through my website, Cobra's Medicine Bag. They are free. I opened them up absolutely free to the public. It's my goal to make Ayurveda accessible to everybody worldwide for free. And I have achieved that with these 4 courses that I have opened up on my Cobra's Medicine Bag website, which again is cobrasmedicinebag.com. And right now you'll see the 2 highlighted courses that we're working through this season. It's VATA season, so we have the Roots with Wings, Build VATA Resilience in 6 weeks. That's forming the basis of our VATA Panchakarma that we are moving through. We just kicked that off. So if you're coming to this now, you're not late, okay? You can get started anytime. We're going to be traveling through this material to carry us through fall and early winter, which is VATA season. And then pairing with it, we have another Ayurvedic course that is very harmonious with Vata. It actually does a lot of focus on Vata pacifying, and that is my Grace in Crisis course, which is using Ayurvedic methods to help combat crisis situations in our life, which I feel with what globally we've been through over the past few years and just where we're at this juncture, with the energy escalating with the final stages of the age of the Kali Yuga, we're all feeling this kind of energy. You know, everybody could use a little additional support. So I thought it would be really great to pair those things together. And then I'm doing kind of a psychonaut, like Panchakarma. It's kind of a hybrid, something I've created where I call in different plant spirit allies, and I call in different minerals spirit allies, and I create kind of like a ritual play space, a fairy ritual play space. And we go questing for different treasures. Right now we're working with the 4 jewels of the Tuatha De Danann. And so really getting into Gaelic roots, Gaelic tradition. Really beautiful. Fairy is one of my paths. So if that's something that appeals to you, if you're into role play, and if you're into, you know, heading to the more farther reaches of the consciousness and exploring, you know, and just sort of walking the hedge, walking that way between both worlds, you know, you might really enjoy that. It's wonderful paired with Panchakarma work we're doing too. So if you're on this channel but you're not on Broadcoven, head on over to Broadcoven, and you can go ahead, and I'll put the link in the comments on this video, and you can subscribe over there and stay up to date on everything that's going on. You can have even more support. In addition to those 2 courses that are featured on the homepage of the Cobra's Medicine Bag channel, not channel, Cobra's Medicine Bag website, There's also the other two courses that are already opened up, which is the Kapha course and the Pitta course. And so to access those, they're all part of my dosha discovery series. You can just click on the all courses tab from the homepage and it'll take you there and you can check it out. So all my Ayurvedic courses are free. Those are the only courses I got on the platform right now. You might see some other stuff up there that is book material that I'm working on. I'm going to be transferring all that stuff to book format, so do be on the lookout for that. That I will be charging for, but I wanted to have a learning environment where people could become empowered in their healthcare and take charge of their life and not feel like they were so beholden to a medical system that just treats them like a statistic and is more invested in their illness than their recovery. So that's my mission. Cobra's Medicine Bag totally exists. Everything that I'm doing with this totally exists through the generosity of donations. So there's also a donation tab there. I'll put a donation link in the comments of this video as well. It's really important for me to have that donation support. Hello, I'm so happy to see you. I'm going to bring you up on this screen here. I'm really happy to have that support because seriously, if I don't have that support, eventually it's going to be something that I'm not going to be able to maintain. So for those that have sent in donations for Cobra's Medicine Bag, I really, really do appreciate it because it's supporting my dream. But currently what I'm doing is taking a big, huge leap of faith to just follow my heart's directive, my mission. And this is something that Spirit called me to do. And I'm not like in a position where I'm a wealthy person, like by any stretch of imagination. Actually, quite the opposite. I'm really in a position where I'm trying to recover and rebuild my financial base. So it's been a lot of work, and for me to take this risk to do all of this like saver work, donation work, as I build Broad Coven, it's huge. So it's been challenging for me to really follow my heart and take that risk, but I believe in what I'm doing. I know that other people believe in it. I know that they benefited from it. I've seen it change lives. Ayurveda's changed my life. And so I'm sticking through right now, you know, but definitely with the things that I'm wanting to bring in, I'm wanting to once a year at the springtime, I'm wanting to do physical Panchakarma work and choose somebody that really needs that support that maybe can't afford Panchakarma and do a total like donation covered Panchakarma. These are resources, things that I want to make available to people, but it does require that I have support from those who are able to support. So Amanda, you're one of the people who has donated to Cobra's Medicine Bag. So I just really want to thank you for that. Those donations are extremely helpful, and it's what is making it possible for those courses to be free, for me to kick off this plan to have donation-based Panchakarma, all of this, everything I'm trying to build, just to make these resources available free to the public. So really appreciate all your support very, very, very much. And my apologies for the delay today. Let's head back in. I really needed some rest. I needed some rest. I've been doing a lot of work. There's been a lot going on in my personal life, so there's been a lot to navigate lately, and I needed extra sleep. I needed a slower start. Ted had a lot of demands. Ted's still being demanding. Honey, lay down, okay, baby? If you're going to be in here, you got to lay down. Otherwise, I got to have you go and play outside of the room, okay? There's no more treats. He's been wanting treats all morning. I don't know what's going on with him. He keeps like trying to wake me up for treats. That's what was going on this morning. That's why I had a late start. All right. Oh, thank you so much. Well, you've helped me. You've helped me, Amanda. Just your support. You don't know how much that really means to me. It really means a lot. This is going to be our space to really get like super, super real, like have real talk, and it's also going to be the space that I view this as a peer support, these lives that we'll be doing here. So, I'll bring my stuff in too. I'll show you my stuff too, I haven't had a lot of support actually in my work and what I've been doing. And surprisingly from people that are actually really close to me. So that's been a lot for me to navigate. So I really do appreciate your support and the way that you have been an encouraging force. People don't realize like how much it means to just like show up for a live or to share a video or to leave a comment and put a thumbs up, you know, all of these things. It doesn't seem like much to somebody, but you know, if people put it in the proper perspective and they thought about like how hard it is for them to share something really personal, really deep, you know, really sensitive for them, you know, even with just one person. And then if they took it outside of that scope and thought about, wow, what if I was like putting that out on the World Wide Web on video for everybody to see and everybody to scrutinize and, you know, make their comments about, you know, it's a lot. And I especially, I've never been one who liked to be on video. I'm much more comfortable now, but I used to have a lot of hangups about it, and that had everything to do with my body image issues, just my self-perception, the way I viewed myself, my insecurities that I had at the time. I'm happy to say I don't have insecurities anymore, and it's kind of ironic because back then when I had insecurities, like I look back at like where my body is at, and I'm like, why did I have such an issue with my body? I had a beautiful body. Like, what was my problem, you know? And now my body is like, I like to say I'm an hourglass with rollover minutes. You know, I'm, you know, my hourglass is much fuller. I got a lot more time on my hands these days. But it's kind of cool because I'm in a very different place in my relationship with my body. So I never like beat myself up about my body. I never look at my body and belittle myself anymore, or I'm never harsh with my body. There's some days that I'm like, ooh, yeah, it's just so juicy, you know? I kind of get into it, and it's okay. You know, I've really learned how to love and accept myself as I am, and understand that nobody is perfect, that these images that we see in magazines, that we see on the movies, like, they're not real. You know, none of it's real. It's all smoke and mirrors. But when I was young and impressionable, it had an effect on me. You know, and also boys, you know, boys had an effect on me because they parrot this stuff that they see in media. And then soon you're like doing this contrast and compare, and you're looking at where you're at in compared to what everybody else is saying is beautiful or acceptable or desirable. And I really had to like shake off a lot of that. And if you're ever interested in reading some kind of book that maybe can inspire you in this regard, if you struggle with body image issues, or if you struggle with beauty ideals, if you're one of those people that you keep feeling like you have to slap a filter on your picture, you know, when you're on social media. Years ago, I used to do that. I moved myself out of that. You know, I realized that I was kind of like still hiding myself, holding myself back a little bit. So I stopped doing that a number of years ago. But when I first got on social media, my first, you know, few years on social media, yeah, I did filters. I noticed everybody else did. I just thought it was like the thing to do. And I also noticed I felt a lot better about putting my pictures up. And then I remember when I stopped doing that, you know, and I stopped using the filters. At first I was like, you know, I felt very nervous about it. Like, oh my gosh, exposure. And the whole thing is just so funny to me now, because look at me now. It's like, hey, hi world, I'm on video. And in the past, especially when I was struggling with eating disorder, and when my body dysmorphia was at an all-time high, like to do this would be my worst freaking nightmare. If you would have talked to me even 10 years ago and told me I'd be doing this, I'd be like, oh, hell no, I ain't gonna be doing that. No way. All right. So things can radically change. You can heal these issues. You can get over it. You can recover. This is not a life sentence, all right? It does require a lot of unlearning. It does require support, especially if you are struggling with clinical eating disorder. I mean, everybody needs support, but if you're dealing with clinical eating disorder, you need support, and not just physical support, you know, getting the proper food into your system, rebuilding your body, getting yourself balanced out in that regard. But you also need emotional support. You need to be in some type of support group. You need to have some kind of counseling going on. You need to be working with, this is very important, a psychotherapist who specifically deals with eating disorder. Don't just go to anybody. You really need to research this. It's super important that you have the right kind of support, because it's a very specialized area, all right? It's not just like going to get family counseling, all right? It's different, and it requires a different kind of support. So really do your research. I'll put a link in the comments. There are also, these resources are in the comments section on the Panchakarma videos, on Cobra's Medicine. I'm getting them all mixed up, on Broadcoven. And I will be adding more timestamps and such on that Panchakarma video we did on Broadcoven yesterday. I haven't been able to get through all of it yet. I'll get it done today. But a lot of the resources are up there that we talked about. ANAD.org is where you want to go. It can help put you in touch with different psychotherapists that specialize in eating disorder, body dysmorphia, these kind of issues. Also, it can point you to resources for free support groups in your area that are led by a psychotherapist that specializes in eating disorder. Okay, all of this is important. If you have EDNOS is eating disorder not otherwise specified, which means, well, I'm not quite anorexic, and I definitely don't meet the criteria for clinical anorexia. If you, here comes the blockage. They have very specific parameters around what that looks like, okay? They have very specific parameters also around bulimia, what that looks like. And I want to bring this in. I brought this in on this channel before, but this is, you know, getting kicked off again. So I just want to revisit it. There is a woman named Andrea. I forget what her last name is. I'll have to find the link. I want to say that the website that tells her story is Andrea's Voice. I think there was a book put out about her too by her mother. Andrea had eating disorder not otherwise specified, okay? She was valedictorian. She had a bright future ahead of her. She got into college on a full scholarship. You know, she was a student that excelled. She was a really brilliant, bright soul. A beautiful person, and she went into college, and like many, just being away from her family and all the pressure that comes with being in college, she started having some issues with food and her body image. And she didn't really find a problem with it at first. She sort of like wrote it off, but then she started noticing that she was having this repeat issue where she was continually like having these binges, and then she would purge. She would make herself throw up, okay? Bulimic behavior. Now, I do want to touch base on this. Bulimia doesn't just have to do with vomiting, okay, to get rid of the food. It can be any kind of compensatory behavior for what you feel is bad, okay, because eating disorder brain looks at things in very much like absolutes, like this is right, this is wrong, this is good, this is bad, this is black, this is white. There's no room for moderation. There's no room for gray area. The brain structure is that of extremes, okay? So I've learned how to tweak this. I've learned how to work with this, and this is what I bring in with Ayurveda. I've learned to treat it instead as, okay, well, let's do extreme self-care. When we're swinging on that end, okay? This is the highlight for extreme self-care. It's going to be self-care 24/7. We're just really going to dive into self-care. And then on the opposite side of the spectrum, I've learned to treat it as extreme rest and receiving, okay? So you got to work with your brain. You need to understand this. Eating disorder brain is different. It's hardwired differently. This is why you have a problem when you try to go on some kind of health regimen, when you try to change things up. And again, for those just getting here, if you have a history of alcoholism in your family, you are more susceptible to eating disorder issues. There's actual brain deviations. You can see it on CAT scans. They've got this information out there. You can research it. All you have to do is Google it, okay? There are actual deficient areas in the brain, the same areas between those who struggle with anorexia, bulimia, and those who come from alcoholic bloodlines, okay? And it's actually this need, okay? This need, a self-care slut. I like that. Yeah, in the extreme, let's go self-care slut mode. I kind of like, I like that. Yeah, I like that. That's cool, Amanda. I might need to talk to you about something in regard to that, actually. For Broad Coven, I'm going to hit you up, okay? I got a little proposition for you. A little money-making proposition, all right? It's something that I want to bring in at the channel that I'm developing, working on. I already got a couple people that are working on things for me, and I want to bring you in on that. I love this though. You know, it's like, let's bring a little humor into it, and also like, yeah, let's overindulge like that. Like, it can be so delicious, right? When you really go into that like real indulgent self-care, and you got all your like luscious creams on your body, and you're like in there gua shine, and you're getting everything all nice and liquidy and buttery, and you got like oils on your hair, and everything just smells so fragrant. You got the candles going, you know, you got soft music playing, you got like, you know, your yoga mat down, you're like stretching it out, you're all, you know, I like Mark Rebele says, you know, you're unbothered, hydrated, and moisturized. Like it's fully what it is. That's what it is, and it just feels so damn good. Yes, I love that you're saying yes. Okay, so I'll be in touch. Okay, I got a really brilliant idea for that, and I think you'll dig it. It'll be fun. Okay. So yeah, you know, support is very essential, and I have a little bit of a different approach to it. All right, because I am an intuitive eating counselor. I've been trained by Evelyn Tripoli and Elise Resch. When you hear about intuitive eating, that is something that was designed by Evelyn Tripoli and Elise Resch. They are the originators. What's very interesting about both Evelyn Tripoli and Elise Resch is that they are very tapped in also to the Western medical system, okay? They are tapped into the Western medical system. I love this, yeah. Even the FADA, you know, this is something that Evelyn Tripoli is involved in. So these are people that, you know, they're registered dietitians, they're in traditional Western medical structure, and they, you know, did work with all kinds of people around food and body image issues, and yet they were like, well, this conventional medical approach is really not working. Like, people are not getting better. I've been working with some of these people for years. Like, they understand the concepts of healthy eating, but in some way, shape, or form, this is just falling short. This isn't working. And so these ladies like put their heads together and like, let's try to figure out a different way to approach this. And they came to intuitive eating. They started applying these methods with their clients, and all of a sudden their clients were like getting over their issues. Their clients were getting healthier. Their clients were feeling better, and they were seeing real transformations. So they put out a book, Intuitive Eating. And so when you see intuitive eating online, what you're looking at is the birth child of Evelyn Tripoli and Elise Resch, and I was trained by them. How did I get trained by them? Well, I picked up their book, and that was something I picked up during my own recovery process from anorexia. I already gone through, you know, traditional Western medical approach with that, where they put you on a very strict diet. You need to eat so much. You need to eat so many times a day. It's very regimented. It's like they end up putting you on another kind of regimen, all right? And the regimen I got put on was like, well, you need to eat 6 times a day. You know, you need to have 3 meals and 3 snacks. And I understand that that was really necessary for where I was at when I first started, because I was severely wasted. I'm 5'7.5" in height, and I weighed 89 pounds. Okay, so I was in a really serious critical point where I needed to get weight on my body, you know, or I wasn't going to be here. Right. So that's one thing. But they wanted to keep me on this track, and it was like not feeling good. It didn't feel good to eat 6 times a day. I'd never in my whole life ever ate 6 times a day. I felt tired. I was putting on a lot of weight, like too much weight. My weight ballooned like overnight. Within a month, I put on 50 pounds in a month. All right, which at that point, that was good, you know, to get me from where I was at. But what's frightening is it just didn't stop. Okay, so my weight just escalated, 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 escalated. I got to the point where I was extremely heavy, you know, really heavy, like morbidly obese. I was at my heaviest that I'd last gotten weighed at a medical appointment. This is many, many years ago. I was 350 pounds. Okay. So I know what it's like to have every type of body. I know what it's like to be, you know, on this side of the spectrum where you're wasting away and you're literally starving to death. And the isolation that comes with that. There's a bullying energy around that too. I have to say, you know, I've experienced it. You know, there does come a point where people just get really scared of what they're seeing and they don't know how to deal with it. So they'll kind of like lash out at you, or you'll get further isolated. All right, I've had that experience. And I also know what it's like on the other side of the spectrum, you know, and I know that there's people that deal with body shaming. I know that there are, you know, people who tend more on the thin side, and they get people that are making judgments about them. Sometimes they get told they need to eat a sandwich, or, you know, oh, you must have eating disorder, and they don't. They're just naturally, you know, lean people. There's all different types of bodies. All bodies are beautiful. All right. And naturally, there's some people that are more curvaceous, okay? And it has nothing to do with the way they eat. They may eat perfectly fine. They may even eat healthy. They may even enjoy exercising. They just have a different body type. This is one of the things that I really love about Ayurveda, is the fact that it doesn't look at everybody in this like one note way, that it actually looks at the diversity, you know, that everybody's different. There's something different for everybody, and it's very unique and individual to you. And so I find this information extremely empowering, as opposed to like the traditional Western medical approach, which is like, no, one size fits all. This is what everybody needs to do. And that's also what we see in like the diet and fitness industry. It's like, oh, no, 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 it's all low carb. That's the way it is. Oh, no, 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 it's all keto. Oh, no, 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 now it's all vegan. You know, this is the thing. And if you notice, these trends with food, with diet, with exercise, they just recycle. They just recycle. It's the same thing that's been going on forever. Nothing's changed. And there's a reason why it's such a big industry. When we're looking at the fitness and diet industry, it is a multi-billion-dollar industry, to the tune of, when I last checked, $60 billion plus annually is funneled into the diet and fitness industry. And if what was being recommended was so effective, why would it be such a thriving industry? You got to think about that. If it worked, like, we wouldn't need it. We'd all be fit. We'd all be healthy. But we're not. And there's a reason for that. You know, it keeps us on this treadmill, and that's profitable. I hate to say it, but it's true. And the people that are out there that want to point the way to like, no, you can actually really heal this. This is what you need to do. What they have to tell you is not popular. You know, it's not popular for the type of society that we live in, a society that values, you know, instant gratification, and society that's all about entitlement, you know, where I just want it now. It should come easy to me, right? Yes, thank you. It's true. Okay. I found out about intuitive eating. I read the book. I was like, okay, this speaks to me, because I started thinking about, well, let me think way back. And I had to go way back to when I was a little kid, because I first started having disordered eating issues and body dysmorphia when I was 7 years old, very young. Okay. So I had to go way back, and I started thinking about when I was really little, and I started thinking about my relationship with food. And I had also started to talk to people in my life that I knew that were natural eaters, what I call natural eaters, just people that I never saw ever go on a diet, ever. People who just had a really good, healthy relationship with food. They never had weight deviations. They never like talked badly about their bodies. They had a healthy sense of self-esteem. They also weren't critical of other people's bodies. Like, I started noticing this kind of stuff as I was going through my recovery process. So I also started talking to people like that. I'd approach them and I'd ask them, I'd say, hey, you know that I've always had like food and body image issues, and I've been in recovery for, for anorexia, and then, I've been on a long healing process, and I'm trying to navigate some things, and I just really have noticed you have a really healthy relationship with food, with your body, in terms of how you relate to other people. And I would really love to sit and have a conversation with you if you're open to it, and just like pick your brain a little bit. I want to understand, like, how does your brain work? Somebody who doesn't have these issues. And you'd be surprised, everybody that I approached was super receptive, and they all sat down and talked with me. And it really illuminated a lot for me, that like, oh wow, this stuff that I will get really caught up in, and I'll overthink it. Like for example, back in the day, I don't deal with this anymore, okay? But back in the day, if I had a piece of cake, just a piece of cake, all right? It might be the only treat I've had all week. I just had a piece of cake. Oh, now I really blew it. Oh my gosh. And now, well, you know what? I'm just gonna have to start again on Monday. On Monday, it's back to clean eating. See, that became my new thing. Oh, no, I'm not on a diet. I'm clean eating, okay? Clean eating, this whole movement, cleansing, clean eating, it's not healthy to cleanse continually. It's actually extremely depleting for your body. It's not good for you, okay? In Ayurveda, we only do cleansing 2 times a year. We do it at springtime for kapha, and we do it at fall for vata. But we do different types of cleansing, okay? So in fall, it's more like building and nurturing the body and cleansing the lower channels. We're looking at clearing out ama from the lungs, all right? So we can prevent getting sick during cold and flu season. We want to be healthy and strong through the colder months, right? And then we also clear out the lower channels, the intestines, okay? So it's a more gentle release. It's not the real vigorous kind of, purification type of cleansing that we do in the spring with kapha, which is really like we're getting in with the gallbladder, we're getting in there with the liver, we're getting in there with the digestion, we're hitting all of it. It's like, it's really intense. With more kapha is like the heavy cleansing season, okay? Spring, we do more of a cleansing, building kind of approach when we're looking at vata season in the fall and early winter, okay? The rest of the time, you should be always in building phase. Pitta season is about building. You can do an inflammation cleanse, but that's not really a cleanse. You're just staying away from pro-inflammatory foods and behaviors when you're addressing pitta in the summer, okay? You're not cleansing, you're not stripping, you're not doing that. You're building, in fact. You're getting in all the fresh produce, all the sweet, juicy fruits, all the ojas building foods. This is what you're doing in the summer and pitta season. And it's so your body can be built up, you can be strong, you can be vital, you can have energy, and then you're going to go and you're going to clear away whatever remnants you need to with, a gentle cleanse in the fall with vata. Same thing with kapha, okay? Like, let's just look at the harmony of things. We all know that we're hardwired on a DNA level, that when we hit, that colder time of year, which for us here in the Northern Hemisphere, that's our holiday season, right? We get to this place where we're like, oh, I want this kind of richer food. I want my soups. I want my stews. I want my saucy casseroles. I want that, I don't care for it, but I know a lot of people like lamb. I want that lamb. I want that beef. I want that steak. I want the heartier foods. I want gravy. It's that way for a reason. We have higher protein, higher fat diet when we enter into that time of year. It's really hardwired into our biology. It's been like this forever. I mean, just think about what we evolved from. Think about your ancestors, the hunters gatherers. It's like, they didn't have the excess that we have now, though, okay? It's like, yeah, they might take down a buffalo, but that one buffalo had to like last the entire winter to feed an entire tribe. You know what I'm saying? So they would do a lot of preservation with meat. They wouldn't have big slabs of steak. They didn't eat like that. They might have like 2 ounces of some beef jerky, and they'd round it out with other things, okay? So you know, the way we eat now is very different. It's instant access, and we just kind of eat and take it for granted. We eat in excess, and we don't move our bodies the way our ancestors did. And that has a lot to do with our declining health, all right? It really does. It's like, if we got back to our roots and we really started doing things in a more natural way, actually listening to our biology, like, oh, I'm not hungry, therefore I don't need to eat. I mean, okay, let's look at it this way, just really simplistically. You got a car, your tank is full of gas. Are you going to stop at a gas station and are you going to try to put more gas in a tank that's already full? You can't do that. It's not going to do anything. It's just going to overfill it and you're wasting your money. Well, that's what you're doing. You're wasting food as well. You know, there's a certain like wasteful behavior in eating when you're not hungry, you know, that comes into play as well. For me, it is potatoes and yams. Yes. Well, that's because they're the roots. They're the roots. They're very grounding. Roots are extremely grounding. Another really good one at this time of year is burdock. Burdock. You can do like a golden milk with a burdock infusion in it. Oh, it's so good. It's so nurturing. All of that. Beets, you know, beets are good too. Turnips, all that kind of, you know, all that kind of like real rooted, you know, beneath the earth, you know, kind of food. Those roots are really good. Carrots are nice too. All cooked though, you know. We don't do raw at this time of year. Everything should be wet, warm, nurturing, building, upping the sweet aromatic spices, the cinnamon, the cardamom, you know. You can get in the cumin, and you can even add a little spice. If you have pitta in your constitution, you don't want to go too much with the hot spices, but you know, this is when we really spice it up. We get that enzymatic activity, you know, the pumpkin pie spices, all of that. And Vata likes sweet taste, okay? So when we look at sweet taste, I'm not talking granulated sugar. I'm talking things like raw honey. They use jaggery in India. Jaggery is like a form of like a brown sugar. It's got like a high molasses content, high iron content. So you can bring in a little brown sugar if you like, you know. You can also do maple syrup is wonderful. And then we also have to look at sweet taste comes from things like sweet potatoes. Okay, sweet potatoes are a sweet taste. You know, you could say pumpkin can be kind of considered a sweet taste. Rice is a sweet taste. Even certain kinds of meats in Ayurveda are considered sweet taste. It's very interesting. Okay, it all has to do with the way it affects your digestive system. Ooh, yellow dock, nice. Yeah, I mean, this is a time to bring that kind of stuff in. It's really good, but the focus is very different. You know, it's on building. So as I came to learn more about Ayurveda, which a big part of my healing from eating disorder had to do with Ayurveda. I just stumbled across it while I was going through kind of like the traditional medical approach in the first like year of recovery from anorexia. I stumbled across this Ayurvedic book and I thought, I wonder what this is about. I just was drawn to it because I was already really interested in yoga and stuff. I'd already read like Patanjali's or Patanjali, I should say, Patanjali. Patanjali, let's call the whole thing off. Patanjali's Yoga Aphorisms, which is an excellent book on yoga. It just kind of like talks about the siddhis. It talks about all the changes that you experience on the path of yoga and what the pitfalls are along the way. It talks about Kundalini, like it gets really into specifics. It's a really excellent book. They have a modern translation version of it out called How to Know God. Okay, so I'll put the links in the comments. I got that book. That might be kind of like a cool book for us to all read. Maybe we can do like a little book club drop in here too on Cobra's Medicine Bag for that, for those who want to read that book. I'd love to do that. So if people are interested in that, let me know. I'll put the link to the book in the comments. But yeah, so I was already kind of like into Ayurveda, and Ayurveda is actually what helped me really more than anything recover from eating disorder. It also taught me the value of healthy food, but not being too structured, too rigid with it, that there's also room for treats, you know. and that quality treats make a difference, you know, these kind of things. I learned to have a different relationship to food and my body through Ayurveda, because Ayurveda really helped me find that one thing that was always missing for me, that was missing from my heart and what drove me to eating disorder, and that's a sense of belonging. You know, feeling like I belonged here, feeling like I belonged on this earth, feeling like I had a place here, you know. I really struggled with these things. Oh, good. I like that you're into this. It's an amazing book, and I've been meaning to read it again. But I love the idea of having like a book club. And I don't know, maybe I can broadcast to both locations. I might be able to do that simultaneously to both Cobra's Medicine Bag and to Broad Coven. I'll have to check that out on StreamYard. I might be able to do that. That'd be really cool. Yeah, I like this idea. Book club feels really good, kind of touching base. And it's something that can connect us as well, even like when we're away from lives and these drop-ins, because we're all reading the book, you know. Excellent book. So anyway, it did a lot for me to heal my relationship with my body and with the world around me and just my place in the world. So when I touched base in this book, Intuitive Eating, that I later came to, and I went to this book, Intuitive Eating, because, you know, here I was in eating disorder recovery, and I was like, okay, that's great. Like, I'm not on the verge of knocking on death's door anymore, but now I'm extremely heavy. I still have a really crappy relationship with food. I'm doing everything the doctors are telling me to do. It's only making my health worse. I continue to put on weight. I'm exercising. I'm eating all this healthy food. I have low energy. I feel like crap. My self-esteem is plummeting. And now, as a heavy woman moving through this world, I got to experience a totally different side of the spectrum and how abusive and cruel people are to those who are obese. And I've heard some people say, you know, that they deal with stigmatism when they're thin too, and that people make judgments about their bodies. Yes, I know this is true. Okay, I know it's true. And nobody has the right to come down on you, you know, about your body. Nobody has a right to have commentary on your body or tell you how to care for your body or make judgments according to superficial appearances. You never know what somebody's story is. So, you know, better just to zip your lip, you know, and like these people who go up to people and like, oh, when are you having your baby? I dealt with that a lot when I was really heavy. And it's like, first of all, I'm unable to have children. Okay. So now you're dinging two different areas. And second of all, I'm not pregnant. I'm just fat. Okay. So, you know, all of these things, it's like, it's always a horrible, like foot in the mouth type of scenario. It never works out well, especially when you're in recovery and you get to the point where you start talking back to people who make comments about your body. It always gets very awkward for them. So it's just a general good practice not to go there. It's none of your business. Somebody else's body is not your business. And so it's never respectful. Also, it's important to kind of start reframing the way you give people compliments instead of being like, oh, you look great. Look how skinny you are now. That's not really a great way to give somebody a compliment. You can just tell somebody, wow, you're looking really healthy, or you're looking really radiant, or you look really happy, or you look like you've been taking real good care of yourself. Like, these are different kinds of compliments that are self-esteem enhancing and that take the focus off of paying attention to where somebody's weight is at, what size they are, you know, asking somebody what they weigh, asking somebody what size clothes they wear, all this stuff. It's like, it's none of your business, and it has a real stigmatism around it. And it can be very activating for somebody who's struggling with issues, okay? So you don't know what somebody is dealing with, so better just mind your own business. Okay, I have to bring that piece in. But I picked up Intuitive Eating and I read this book and I was like, oh my gosh, this feels like what I need. I'm not hungry 6 times a day. I don't want to eat like this. Maybe this is my solution. And so I started working with Intuitive Eating. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is working. And I found that I didn't have to give up any foods that I loved. I was like, this is how I used to eat during periods when I wasn't in active eating disorder, because this is another thing that needs to be noted. And this can help people identify, like maybe if they're in that EDNOS stage. Yes, I had these two like crises with my anorexia, okay, but I wasn't always operating out of anorexic behavior, okay. Anorexic behavior usually picked up when I was dealing with some kind of like crisis in my life, all right? That's when it would come in, and it's because I've ascertained over the years, just in getting to know a lot of people with eating disorder and being in eating disorder therapeutic support groups and such, and from my research, that people that struggle with eating disorder tend to be highly sensitive people, okay? So they really pick up the energy around them. They can have issues with boundaries. They can have fuzzy boundaries. They can have codependency tendencies. This makes sense, right? Because there's a direct link between alcoholic bloodlines and those who struggle with eating disorders. So this can come into play too, you know, just being used to being the caretaker, all right? I have to fix everything. I have to take care of everybody else. So people can get really depleted, and then when they need help or they need support, they don't know how to ask for it. They don't know how to get that support. It's very difficult for somebody with eating disorder to reach out for support, okay? So this innate sensitivity, okay, when they're going through crisis, it can make them feel like the emotions coming in are just like too much, too big, too much to hold, too much to process. And because of that, the tendency to hit the eject button is like super strong. And this is why disassociation can be a major problem with eating disorder, in particular anorexia. It's like, nope, I'm just going to cut myself off at the neck. We're not going to be in the body. We're going to be all in the head. I'm going to feel in control of what's spiraling out of control in my life by micromanaging every bite of food I'm putting in my mouth. That's why people don't understand why in extreme cases of eating disorder, they'll see somebody with like one little baby carrot on their plate, and that person is like slicing that little baby carrot up into little pieces and arranging them on the plate just so, and that's all they're eating for the day. They do that because it makes them feel in control, and there's this distortion that happens where you feel your stomach grumbling and you feel that your body is hungry, but you're using your mind to like overpower that. And you're saying, I don't care that you're hungry. I'm not eating. And so do you see how it starts to spin this false narrative of like, okay, my life is out of control. Emotionally, I feel out of control. I feel like I'm in the deep end and I'm sinking fast, but at least I can master this. And so that's why it becomes such an issue, because it's the one thing you can control, whether you eat or not, what that looks like. And this is where the distortion comes in. So it's a very serious issue. And it takes a lot to heal it. And it does require therapeutic support and rebuilding. But you get to a certain stage, you got to get back to normal life. And there were times when I wasn't in that place, okay? And when I wasn't in that place and when I was just functioning normally, my body always stayed at a very, you know, even keel. Like most human beings, I had like a 5 to 7 pound deviation in weight. Sometimes I was on the higher end of that, sometimes on the lower spectrum of that. I always stayed right at about a size 6, 7. You know, that was normal for me. I thought that was fat at the time. Forget about it. Okay. It was the 80s. It was the early 90s. The aesthetic was all about Kate Moss. My body wasn't like that. I've always had an hourglass shape. Always been a curvy girl. Okay. So this was something I really struggled with, just feeling like my body is not the ideal. It's a little better for me now, actually. It's a little better for me now that beauty trends have changed, but you know, they'll change again. That's the way it goes. It's just like a fad. If you want to read a good book about that, and getting back to that point, check out Naomi Wolf's The Beauty Myth. Excellent book about that. That can be a great support. Looks like we need to really have a book list going here. Maybe this is going to be like the book club site, you know. Maybe I'll get into doing some yoga videos and like meditation videos and stuff over here on Cobra's Medicine Bag. It can be like a support resource in that regard. So we'll look into all of that, okay? Yeah, it's very, very interesting, very interesting. So yes, this piece is very important, that support is necessary to move through this, but there's also this need to like get back to normal life. And when I was in my phases where I wasn't out of balance, I had a pretty chill relationship with food. I never looked at food like, oh my gosh, it has this ingredient in it, so I can't eat it, which is something that came later with all the hyper focus on whole foods. And, you know, I used to eat processed stuff. I didn't trip out on it. I used to have sweets every single freaking day. I always loved sweets, you know. I ate what my mom made, you know, and sometimes that stuff was processed and sometimes it was whole foods, and sometimes actually every day there was dessert in my house growing up, you know. That was just how we ate. There was always dessert with dinner, you know. On the weekend, there was always, my mom would make fudge and we'd watch the Dukes of Hazzard. That was like our thing. That was a normal part of life. And I stayed within a pretty normal range, but it was only when things like really picked up, when I had something heavy going on in my life, that my behavior would spiral out of control, okay? Now I'm beyond that, okay? And that's all because of Ayurveda. That's all because of balancing with yoga and meditation, and the whole path of yoga, the whole path of Ayurveda has brought me into a place of empowerment and balance with that. So what's beautiful is that Ayurveda marries very well with intuitive eating. It's the same approach, because in Ayurveda, they also approach food in such a way. They approach it intuitively. It's not what Westerners have made it, where it's like, these are yes foods, these are no foods. No, it's about emphasis and de-emphasis, okay? It's like, if you eat it's more about understanding like the karmic load of the foods you eat, okay? Because karma is an action. That's all karma is. It's the work, it's the action, it's the corresponding reaction to the action, okay? So it's like, if you eat a bunch of cakes and pastries and, you know, real kind of like refined flour foods, eventually you're going to feel tired. Your blood sugar is going to have deviations. Your energy is going to feel sloggy. You're going to have cotton brain. That's just a natural reaction to that action of focusing exclusively on those foods. That's a toxic load, okay? So we look at that more as like, okay, so you want to de-emphasize those foods. You want to pull back on them. I like to look at those as regressive foods. So regressive foods are, you know, if you eat too many of these foods, it's not that you can never have them, but just know that when you have them, there's a certain weight they carry. And when I mean that weight, I mean like the price that you pay, you know, in terms of your health, your radiance, your energy, all right? And it's good to be mindful of this. And it's also okay to go, yeah, I know this doesn't make me feel the best, but it's a pleasure food for me. I really enjoy it. And it's okay to have a treat now and then. You know what I'm saying? So there are none of this like yes, no list. Like that's all Western thought. It's the diet mentality seeping into Ayurveda. And when I found this book, Intuitive Eating, I'd already been personally studying, before I ever even became an Ayurvedic practitioner. I was already studying Ayurveda. So when I came across this, I was like, oh my gosh, this is wonderful. This is like absolutely amazing. This is totally in harmony with Ayurveda. And I started working with it and taking it more deeply, because intuitive eating bridged the gaps where, you know, Ayurveda sort of like left out certain parts. All right. And that really just, it was the key for me. It was the key. And I started balancing out. I ended up very slowly over time. It took about 10 years, okay? Very slowly over time, I dropped over 150 pounds and I kept it off, okay? And at that point, I stopped weighing myself, okay? I stopped weighing myself. Yeah, I don't feel good either when I do it excessively. I like to have a little sweets. I still love my sweets. I let myself have something sweet every day. Sometimes that's just like a little added raw honey in my drink or whatever. Sometimes it's like, no, I want a piece of chocolate. I'll go get really good, high quality chocolate. I like to treat myself to treats out. That's like my thing. I don't like to bring a bunch of treats into the house because it just can encourage mindless eating. And I don't like to do that. I like to be conscious, you know? Yeah, but this is what a lot of people experience, you know? It's kind of like the backlash of the kind of diet that was popular back in the 80s, which was all about the low-fat diet, right? Well, low-fat, to bump up the flavor, they upped the sugar, and then people started having other problems, and then they tried to address that with like, oh, now you need to do the 6-meal-a-day mini meal thing, which, by the way, that programs your body to have blood sugar deviations. Your body becomes very dependent on having like these set, sources of fuel. The ideal way to get to eat is as you're biologically designed, on demand. I mean, it's really simple. We forget this. It's like when you came into the world, when you were born, you weren't like, well, Mom, it's 3 a.m. So you gotta get up and I need that tea because I need some milk. That's not the way it works. Like you cried because your body said, I need nutrients, I'm hungry. And when you're first out of the womb, like you were used to just having that steady state of, nutrients delivered to you through the umbilical cord. Well, now that umbilical cord is gone, now you're adapting to a new environment. That's why babies are still like in the middle of the night at all hours, like, I need food, But as you get older, right, you settle into your new like circadian rhythm and you get used to operating in a new way. And you're still meant to eat the same way, though. You eat when you're hungry. Your body will tell you when you need to eat. You'll notice you get the signs of hunger come on. First, you might think about food, okay? Then you might notice, oh, my mouth is watering. That means your amylase is producing. Digestion begins in the mouth. So if your mouth is watering, you're thinking about food, your mouth is watering, then you know right away, oh, my body is preparing to get ready to eat. My body's going to need food soon. At that stage, you're not at the place where you need to eat yet. You need to let your hunger build. There's a reason for this. You don't want to get hangry, okay? You don't want to be at the point where you feel like you're going to eat the paint off the wall or bite somebody's head off. That means that you have gone too far. You missed your hunger signal. This is the hardest part from people that struggle with food issues, okay? Eating disorder issues when coming to an intuitive eating is they have to get back in touch with their body's biological communication again. And for a lot of them, it takes time to address this. It takes time to adjust to that. So be patient with yourself. You'll be fudging it out for a bit until you find the balance and you really understand the way your body communicates with you. Don't be hard on yourself. Be compassionate. Take your time, okay? Expect there's going to be times when you eat a little too much food. Likewise, you'll miss your full signal, okay? Know that there will be times when you waited too long to eat. You'll know it. You'll feel jittery. You'll feel lightheaded in some cases. I'm talking in extremes because some people deal with eating disorder issues and they know all about this. You get hangry. You're biting people's heads off. You're feeling short. You're feeling agitated, you're jittery. Okay, that means you are having a blood sugar dip and you've gone way too far. You missed your signal a long time ago, okay? You should not feel uncomfortable like that at all when you go to eat, all right? That means you waited too long. The ideal time to eat is when you can feel that your stomach is empty. Like that's why we do a halt check-in where we put our hands on our belly and we kind of close our eyes when we think about food. And we just notice, are the signs of hunger actually present? Or is something emotional coming up and I'm wanting to reach for food to give myself a little comfort in the moment rather than effectively address the issue? We use HALT as an acronym. If you want to know about that, that's all on the Broad Coven Panchakarma video I did the other day. I'll put a link to that in the comments here. You can check that out. I did 4 hours there. I don't want to get into all of that over here. It's also outlined in the courses that are on the Cobra's Medicine Bag site that are free to you. So if you want to know all about the specifics of that, get the courses, check out the Broad Coven Panchakarma video. And I encourage you to subscribe over there and stay in touch over there because the Panchakarma videos are going to release there every week just to kind of guide the experience. This is sort of additional support for those of you who have specialized issues, in applying the information, all right? So that's why we do the HALT. We do the check-in. HALT is something that specifically is informed from my eating disorder history and what I learned going through therapeutic support for eating disorder. It was something that really benefited me, really supported me. And so this also fuses into the work that I do. So any course that you are doing with me is a fusion of what I have learned in eating disorder recovery, working with psychotherapists, also in my work as an intuitive eating counselor, and my work as an Ayurvedic practitioner. We got all bases covered. It also brings in my work as a transformational body worker. I've been doing body work, massage therapy, physical therapy oriented work, working alongside Western medical doctors, working with the oncology department, with cancer patients. I've been doing this work for over 28 years. I got so much experience in dealing with the body. I understand the body. I understand the health systems. I understand the way the organs work. I understand all of this stuff. I've worked intimately with all of this stuff for a long time. Been an Ayurvedic practitioner for 11 years now. Okay? I got a wealth of experience. I've been an intuitive eating counselor since I believe I first started doing that back in 2008. Okay. So yeah, I've been at this for a while. All right. I've been at this for a while, and it informs all the work I do. So you're safe moving through these courses. If you're somebody who's dealing with eating disorder issues, you're safe moving through these courses. What I would say is if you're in active recovery and you're working with a psychotherapist, an eating disorder specialist, I encourage you to please let your therapist, your psychotherapist, your healthcare providers have a look at the courses and make sure that they feel it's right for you with where you're at. Okay, that's very important because recovery has many different stages, many different phases, right? But through intuitive eating, I released over 150 pounds. And once I did that, I really was in a place where I'm like, okay, now I'm not like moving through the world in such a way where I'm a pariah. Because let me tell you, I do understand that leaner people deal with stigmatism. They deal with people making comments about their body. They deal with this too, okay? But I can tell you honestly, as somebody who's been on both sides of the spectrum, not on the level as somebody who is morbidly obese. Just not. I'm sorry, just not. Just not. And that has everything to do with the beauty standards. It's not the same trip. I've walked both walks. I know personally, it is not the same. It is not the same. And I'm not talking if you're just a little bit fluffy, okay? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking if you are fat, right? If you are fat. I have gone into a doctor and I've had a doctor refuse to take my vitals because in his words, he was disgusted by how fat I was. I don't think that there are people that are thin or what are considered as the standard of beauty, you know, in a lot of circles that have dealt with that experience. I just don't. I don't think that you have dealt with discrimination necessarily on the job where you didn't get a job because of the size of your body. You know, there might be isolated incidences. It's a very different reality. It's a very different reality. When you are morbidly obese, people feel like they have the right to just walk up to you and just completely shit on you. They will say the worst, most horrible things to you. It's extremely abusive. It's a horrible way to live. And I know it firsthand. And I'm kind of grateful. It may seem strange, but I am very grateful that I've had this experience of seeing both sides of the spectrum because I understand both sides. Yeah, I dealt with stuff, you know. When I was thin, I dealt with jealousy. I dealt with, you know, people being catty towards me for a different reason, okay? It's a different kind of energy, though, that comes at you when you're on that side of the spectrum than when you're obese. It just is. It just is. I don't know what to tell you, all right? So yes, I'll chalk it up, you know, for people that do deal with those issues that are thin and don't like getting the body judgments, or the only thing that I feel can be really damaging for like just somebody who's just, that's just their natural body type, you know, they're just a slighter build. That's just the way they are. And some people are born like that. They're just naturally thin. You know, I know people like that. They eat plenty, you know. It's just how their body is. They have a really high metabolism, and that's the way they came into this world. I think what can be really cruel and really damaging is when people accuse these people of having eating disorder, you know, and it's like they don't. That's just their natural body. So, yes, there's judgments that can come all around. And if you're one of those people and you deal with that and you're a thin person and you know, you feel like you've dealt with this, there's a safe space for you here too. You know, I don't think it's cool for anybody to make judgments about another person's body or make assumptions about how they live their life or their health choices. You know, I'm a proponent for body autonomy, and I'm a proponent for treating people with respect, you know. So you have a space here, but I do think that this is something that really needs to be highlighted on the opposite side of the spectrum, because there really is, even within the medical field, it's pretty brutal for those who have a lot of weight that they're carrying on their body, all right? And you feel it too. It's not helpful information. You're already at a place where you're like, well, I don't know what to do. I've tried everything and nothing's working, you know, and I still have this weight and I don't feel well. And now on top of it, I feel like crap about myself because my own doctor won't even won't even touch me to get my blood pressure, to get, you know, my vitals. And he's telling me I'm disgusting. You know what I'm saying? I actually reported that doctor to the board at Kaiser. I did, because I was like, no, that's not, I'm sorry, that's not right. I'm a human being. I deserve to be treated like a human being. He called somebody in to take the vitals. He was horrible. Horrible doctor. I don't even remember his name. Doesn't even deserve mentioning. But Kaiser did handle it. They let me know that they were taking actions, you know, reprimanding actions with him. So I'm glad that I took it upon myself to stand up for myself. But that was at a point when I was already, you know, I had gone through a lot of recovery. Okay, so through intuitive eating, through Ayurveda, I got to the point where I released 150 pounds. I maintained it. And I've been maintaining that and even have gone beyond that. I don't know where I'm at right now, but I released a little bit more. I don't know how much. I don't weigh myself. I don't measure myself. I don't do those kind of things. I go by how my body feels. It's obvious where my body's at if I'm starting to release or if I'm heading the other way and maybe I'm overindulging a little bit. My clothes will get a little snugger and I go, oh, okay. Maybe I need to look, you know, am I kind of like just doing some mindless eating? Have I been stressed? Have I been doing some stress eating? And that's enough for me. You know, I've been wearing the same size now for forever. You know, it's been well over 10 years now that I've been maintaining. And this is something you often don't hear about, right? You hear all of this talk in the diet industry about, oh, get your dream body, drop all this weight, do all that. How many times have you heard about somebody dropping, I mean, a real significant amount of weight, like over 150 pounds and maintaining it for over a decade? It's like almost unheard of. Almost unheard of. And that's because most people do it through dieting, restriction. They limit the food they're eating. In order to keep releasing weight, they keep taking down their calories. They keep, you know, exercising harder, longer, and they don't realize they're totally setting themselves up for failure. They're actually conditioning their body to have to eat less and less and less and less in order to not put on weight. So then they finally reach their goals, and then they'd find that, oh my gosh, in order to maintain this, I hardly get to eat anything. And it's not sustainable. And eventually, you know, biology always wins. They swing back the other way. They put on all their weight again. They add on more weight than they had before. This is how it happens. It's like this repeat, endless loop cycle. And the reason why you don't hear anybody in the fitness and diet industry say, well, when it comes to exercise, you really should just touch base with your body every day and just see where your body's at. Do you feel like a walk? Do you feel like dancing? Do you feel like yoga? Do you feel like getting in a good weight session? Maybe you feel like going for a run. Maybe you feel like getting in some HIIT. Maybe you want to do TRX today. Maybe you want to go to the gym and you want to get a personal trainer to put you through the paces. It varies. It varies. You know, unless you're in a sport where you're training for a sport that requires certain conditioning requirements, to constantly be in this place where you're on this real set structure for like, this is my workout, it looks like this, it's very regimented, I can't deviate from it. You're conditioning your body to have a certain criteria met in order to meet your level of health. Whereas if you listen to your body, it may be the slower route. This is why it's not popular. Okay. This is why nobody's talking about this in the fitness and diet industry. This doesn't sell books. This doesn't sell gym memberships. This doesn't sign people on to the program that these people are offering. It doesn't make money because it's not a quick fix. It will take time. And it's not going to be like this. It's not going to be like, all right, I'm heading straight up to success. It's going to be a steady climb. No, it's like this. But you'll notice, like, over time, oh wait, I'm a little higher than I was before. Oh wait, no, I'm getting a little bit better. I'm getting a little bit better. Until one day you reach the top of the mountaintop and you look down at your journey and where you've been, and you're like, wow, I get it. I understand why it had to go just like that, you know? I couldn't understand them, but I get it now. And it's because the healing you're doing when you're unraveling these issues, it's so deep, man. You're totally rewiring your entire psychology, like your belief constructs, the way you look at yourself, the way you look at the world, the way you look at beauty, the way you look at food, the way you look at your body, like everything. Exercise, your relationships, you know, you're completely rebooting your consciousness. You're doing all of this unlearning. You're doing all of this pulling up, all this repressed emotional stuff. You're getting rid of it. You're airing it out. You're putting down the baggage, okay? You're learning how to engage in self-care. You're learning how to communicate effectively. You're healing issues of codependency. You're learning that it's okay. You do not have to take the weight of the world on your shoulders. You are not here to save everybody. You're not here to take care of everybody else's problems. You're not here to hold space for everybody. You're not here to fix everything for everybody else. You have needs too. That's okay. Okay, people with eating disorder, they fall more on this side of the spectrum. They are the givers. They are the givers. I'll show up for you. I'll do it. I'll take care of you. This is because a lot of times they had parents that were out to lunch. Okay, they grew up in families where the parents weren't present. This could be because they were a latchkey kid, all right? Both parents had to work, all right? There was a huge spike in eating disorder issues when we hit the 70s, okay? There's a reason for that. The parents were out of the home. The kids were alone. The kids had dealt with emotional stuff around that, okay? And they had to learn how to navigate it themselves. They also didn't have that parental influence there, all right? So they had to learn to step up into more of a parental role. I know when I was a kid, 7 years old, I was left, you know, babysitting my 3-year-old brother. I was cooking dinners. You know, when I was 11 years old, I was taking care of my newborn sister. Right? It's like us kids, us Generation Xers, okay, we really had to learn how to grow up real fast, right? It's a different reality than it is now. It's not like it is now. Okay, so there's a reason why these behaviors develop, okay? You learn that you have to like take care of everybody. You have to hold space for everybody. And then your needs, your wants, your desires, where you need to feel supported, it's like, boom, you know, it's down at the bottom of the list, okay? So this is a whole restructuring that happens. This does not happen overnight. You're not going to get rid of these issues overnight. You're not going to suddenly like have your dream body and have a perfect relationship with food overnight. And I'm not here to bullshit you, and I'm not here to sugarcoat it, all right? I'm letting you know the real deal, what this is going to look like for you, what this is going to be like for you. You're going to do a lot of emotional purging, all right? Fuck purging. You're not going to be making yourself throw up anymore if you're somebody who deals with bulimia. Instead, you're going to be purging your emotions, because you're going to have to stop engaging in these self-abusive behaviors, which means you're going to have to stop starving yourself. You're going to have to stop ignoring your hunger. You're going to have to stop depriving yourself of nourishment. You're going to have to stop making your needs last on the list. You're going to have to stop having fuzzy boundaries. You're going to have to stop over caring for other people and their needs. You're going to have to start valuing yourself a little bit. Start putting yourself first. You're going to have to start asking for help. You're going to have to start reaching out for help. You're going to have to start getting yourself into a support group. You're going to have to start showing up to things like lives like this, or find yourself a psychotherapist who deals specifically with eating disorder. Find a support group through ANAD that will help hold space for this for you. Find yourself a healthcare provider that can also help you get on track with your food. Start reading books like Intuitive Eating. Start dropping in with me and learning about intuitive eating. Set up an intuitive eating counseling appointment. I offer this service too, okay? I don't offer these services year-round anymore because it's a lot of space to hold, okay? But I do offer my intuitive eating counseling, and I do offer my Ayurvedic consultations when I'm actively involved in these 6-week Panchakarmas. So I do that 3 times a year. I open up these additional services that I have to offer, okay? I am listed on the national directory on the intuitiveeating.org site for Evelyn Tripoli and Elise Rush. I was trained by them. And the way I got trained by them is intuitive eating helped me so much in this process. Just reading the book, I thought, well, I have all this healthcare background. I wonder if they have any kind of training program or what I need to do to become an intuitive eating counselor, because I think this would just marry beautifully with the work I do. And so I just took a risk. I'm like, how can I find these people? This is what I always do. So I like hunted down online contact information, and I called them. I called their office and I was like, hey, I want to become an intuitive eating counselor. I want to do what you all do. Is there a way I can do that? And they're like, it just so happens we have a training program, but you need to have a healthcare background. Let's see if you qualify. And then I shared my background, and I also shared my history with them. We had a nice deep talk, and they're like, you're perfect for this work. And I went through the training. Okay, so I'm listed on their national directory. You'll find there's not very many intuitive eating counselors out there that have actually been trained by the originators of this method. Okay, so I'm a rare one. It's not easy to find an actual intuitive eating counselor. There's a lot of people out there that are talking about intuitive eating that aren't intuitive eating counselors. They actually do not have the background. I do. Okay, and there's a very specific kind of support that comes in around that. It marries beautifully with Ayurveda. So this program, moving through the VATA course, especially if you deal with eating disorder, is going to be so beneficial for you, and especially married with the grace in crisis. Okay, so I want you to feel extremely supported in this process. It's really going to help you. The hardest thing for you is going to be getting in touch with your body, getting to learn your signals again, trusting what your body's telling you, and lifting all of your food restrictions. Right? It can be scary. Take your time, go slow with it. That's why I want to open up this support group. And I will be doing this for you all every single Thursday, okay? For the next 6 weeks, I will drop in here. We're going to get a book club going, okay? So even when we're not in Panchakarma mode, we'll still have a little support group here on Cobra's Medicine Bag for everything that's about evolution, you know, personal growth, healing. We'll have books that are in alignment with that. So we're going to kick it off with How to Know God, the Yoga Aphorisms of Patanjali, and I think that'll be really complementary to this Panchakarma work. I'm excited about that. So there will always be resources for you here, and I am going to start putting energy into this channel. I think I'm going to kind of go a different route with Cobra's Medicine Bag. I sort of feel like I want Cobra's Medicine Bag to be a place for support, and maybe I want to bring in some kind of like move more into kind of like meditation videos, ASMR, things along this line, like more healing support on this channel. So it'll be interesting. I'm playing with things. I have, you know, Justice Tarot that I got back to doing. I had a lot of fun with that the other day. And I also have one more channel that I'm going to be debuting that I'm super excited about. I'm so excited about. It's just sheer fun for me. Just sheer fun. Okay. So I'm developing a lot of things right now, and I'm really excited about all of it. But at the center point for me is that I'm serving the community in some way. I want to bring something to the table that's helpful for people. And I know that this is a need. I know there's been times in my life where I needed support. I needed medical support. I needed healthcare support. I couldn't afford it. I couldn't afford insurance. I didn't have resources, you know? I don't want anybody else to deal with that. I also don't want anybody feeling like they're alone in this struggle, because when I went through my anorexia crisis afterwards, when I got to the other side of it, that's one thing I promised myself. I said, I am never, ever, ever going to leave somebody alone in a place of suffering like this, ever, ever, ever. And it's something I've really held myself to. I feel like it's very important. So just know that this will be a space for you to bring in your questions, your concerns. I'm here to offer support. And I will check in here daily when I am at work. There's times that I take time off. I've stopped having a set schedule with my channels. I was having set days off. I now feel like I don't want to do that anymore. I want to just flow with my natural rhythms and trust what comes through. There's times when I'm in high creativity phases, and there's times when I need to turn within more and restore. But I will tell you that when I am on here on YouTube, like when I'm on a Broadcoven, I will swing by Cobra's Medicine Bag and make sure that I'm addressing anything that's brought in here. So the support will be available for you. I know there's those of you that subscribed to this channel a long time ago, and you're like, where did you go? I just wasn't getting any traction here, you know? I just wasn't. Like, nobody was engaging. And after a while, it started really making me feel down. I was putting a lot of work into it, and there just wasn't any headway. But I feel now that I got like a little traction with Broadcoven, maybe this channel can start to do something. Maybe I can get some traction here, and it can be a good thing. So we'll see. We'll play with it. But I'm committed to putting some time and energy into developing things over here and letting this be a support resource as well. So what I did want to bring in for you today, I want you to just focus on, you know, throughout today, just sort of like review the course material just for lesson 1 for Grace and Crisis, and for the VATA course, Roots with Wings. Okay, just review the lesson, sink into it, feel it out. You'll find that the focus for this first week is really easy. Okay, it's nothing major. Really easy stuff that you can easily integrate, that you can start to get used to. Okay, nothing is ever, you know, unmanageable with what I recommend for the focus for the week. It's also not necessary for you to hit every point. Okay, meet the course with where you're at. Let it meet you with where you're at. Right, this is not about being perfectionistic. It's okay. You're not doing it wrong if you're like, well, I only have the energy to do 2 of these things that are listed on the focus for the week. That's excellent. That's awesome. You're showing up, you're taking in the material, you're catching lives, you know, you're putting a couple things into action. That's awesome. That gets a momentum going. You know, the more that you just like allow yourself to at least bring some of it in, it's going to spark something in you. And then you'll find it gains momentum. And then soon you're doing more, and soon you're doing more, and soon you're doing more. I can't tell you how many people I've worked with that at first they were like very apologetic, or they felt guilty because they're like, I can't do it perfectly. And so they like threw in the towel early on. And then I like talked to them like, no. You know, just do what you can. If you do what you can, you're really going to find that things start to shift for you. And then they would go, okay, they come begrudgingly come back to it. And they'd start taking this approach. And then soon they were like down the road, like, you know what, you're right. Like I started feeling better. That made me want to experiment with this, with that. And then they really made it their own experience, which is what this is about. It's about making it your own experience. So let the courses meet you where you're at. Do what you can. Do what resonates with you. And bring in pieces that, you know, do speak to you that are completely outside of the course. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. I want you to make it your own. I want you to feel connected to this. I want you to really feel like it values your own wisdom and your own medicines, right? That's what it's about. It's not about following something, you know, very structured or not having any wiggle room and ignoring your own internal wisdom about what your body needs, what your psychology needs. I always tell people, like, if it don't feel right, if it's not a fit, then don't do it and adapt it so it does feel right. You know, that's what it's about. I do want to bring in just a couple cards. I want to begin first with this. I have a Christmas tree set up because Yule's coming early around here, right? I don't want to focus on any more heavy stuff like shadowy stuff, like Halloween stuff. I mean, I'll still honor the ancestors because that's what we do at Samhain. That's what we do at Halloween and Dias de los Muertos. All of these traditions, all of these holidays are about really revering the ancestors. That's something I do on a daily basis, but I'll of course leave out special prezzies and treats for that time of year when we hit that later in October, beginning of November here. But in general, I'm over all the heavy, like shadowy stuff. I'm ready to build the light in my life. So we're doing Yule early this year. So I already got a tree up. I already like put my white light oracle cards on it with the wolf facing out on the backside. And I've been going like each week, and I've been just like picking a random card off the tree and letting that be the guide. And I felt compelled to pick one for this group today. So I'll not only be doing this on Broad Coven, I'm also going to be doing this over here for Cobra's Medicine Bag. And I picked a random card, and the one I got is this. It is Cupio Dissolvi. I've never read about this card, but I just want you to have a look at it. This is the White Light Oracle with Alana Fairchild. She's the artist. 2 energy makes me think of coming into balance. I'm really noticing on this card, there's a lot of focus on receiving. Do you notice the posture? First of all, there's a lot of energy coming into the heart center, into Anahata. It simultaneously, to me, looks like 2 things are going on in this heart center, though. It looks like there's an opening of the heart and a release. It looks like there's a release of old energy. To me, it almost looks like fire energy. It's got this like white fire feel. I feel like this is like burning through some old karmic stuff in the heart center that needs to release so this channel can become clear. Maybe you have like a little blockage going on in the heart center. Maybe it's difficult for you to receive. This is something that's very important. I'm just noticing the breasts. So I am getting this piece, and this applies for men too. Okay, you have breast tissue as well, men. Men can also get breast cancer. This is something that a lot of people don't know. It's just tissue, okay? And the only thing that's different between men and women is the way that tissue is distributed. It's still breast tissue, right? I'm getting breast massage, okay, would be a really good thing to bring in to help kind of release the firewall and bring in some nurturing into Anahata. So that's very simple to do. You can just get yourself in a space where you feel very comforted. I recommend make it a nice, warming, luxurious, comforting experience. Okay, so you might want to make, you know, a nice, cozy place for you to lay down and receive. You might want to have some dim lighting, some candlelight. You might want to have a little aromatherapy going. Think warming scents, sandalwood with rose would be lovely. Lavender with vanilla would be lovely. These are very like kind of calming, soothing, sweet, warming kind of scents. Amber is lovely too. Rose amber is lovely. Even lavender amber could be lovely too. Heck, you could get them all together. I bet that would smell divine if you did like amber, sandalwood, rose, vanilla, and lavender. Oh my gosh. It's giving me like Dakini vibes. Maybe throw in a little, like just a little bit of spice in there. Some star anise in there. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Maybe we got like a special aromatherapy blend. I'm gonna have to play with that. That sounds really good. Sounds really good. You can even do that as a simmering potpourri to add some moisture to your air. You know, you can just put all those different herbs and scents into some water, boil it on the stove, and it can add kind of like some moisture to your atmosphere and bring this like warming, wet, warming energy into your home. I love doing that. It's really nice. You can also add citrus in there too. Orange would be lovely. It's kind of brightening and purifying for the environment. It's also real juicy. This kind of energy. If you want to make up a special oil blend, massage oil blend, sesame oil is traditional. You can also do almond oil. I like kukui nut oil. It's really rich, or macadamia. Has a really rich luxe feel. I wouldn't use coconut oil for this in particular because coconut oil tends to be a little bit more on the cooling side. And when we're looking at Vata balancing, we really want to bring in more of the warming oils. You can even do a neutral oil like extra virgin olive oil would work too. All right, so play around. The only thing I don't like about extra virgin olive oil though is like that kind of scent lingering in the background, but if that doesn't bother you, you know, that's cool. To get your lymph moving and also to bring like that juicy sweet quality in, I love working with mandarin orange essential oil, and ylang ylang is really, really nice. If you want to bring in a little like yum yum, tenderness, softness, sweetness, you can do benzoin is really nice. And Palmarosa is a really nice lymph mover, or you could do pink grapefruit too. All right, these are all different oils you can use that will help kind of like stimulate the lymph, but they're also very ojas building. They're juicy, they're sweet, they're pacifying for Vata. And of course, you could always do rose, but rose oil is very pricey. It is to get true rose oil, right? But hey, if you got it, splurge on yourself, go for it, all right? I would say don't put in more than 6 drops total of essential oil in a carrier oil that's enough for you to do a breast massage. And you might even want to do a little bit extra carrier oil so you can do a breast massage and then you can carry it down and get a good belly massage in, you know, just kind of address the womb space. I like this because it kind of like opens up the lower chakra channels. It opens up the root, you know, Muladhara. It opens up Svadhisthana. The sacral chakra comes up and you get that release in Manipura, the solar plexus, and then, you know, doing this clearing work in the heart, it allows that bridge to happen, right, between the lower channels and the upper channels, because the heart is the bridging point between the upper channels and the lower. So this is an important juncture. Your heart is really important. And this can be just so, so healing and so freeing in just being able to start to open yourself to the idea of receiving nurturing. So I recommend try this, you know. Let's see where we're at. Let's just say even just once this week, okay? Once this week, bring this in for yourself. Give yourself a breast massage, you know? You want to work, when you're working on the sternum, you can do clockwise circular motions and you can really kind of get in there and you can carry the energy up, you know, up to the upper chest and spread it out with the clavicle, okay? You can do this opening motion here, like opening up, opening the heart. When you're working your breast tissue, you know, you can go under your armpit, you know, and kind of push it toward the nipples, all right? Your nipples are actually, they're a portal for a detoxification portal, okay? So sometimes you can even get stuff to release through the nipples, but this takes that lymph, you know, from underneath the armpits, and it allows you to kind of like open up this channel. Likewise, this is a main lymphatic drainage port, runs right here, okay? So you can also do, and you don't need to do anything like vigorous or rough. You can even do feather light is super effective for stimulating the lymph. And if you're in a sensitive space and you're just getting into doing massage, you can do that. You can do real feather light too, okay? I like to really work my breast tissue. It feels really good to me. So you can do that, like even milking. You can even milking your breast, or I sometimes like to do this motion around the breast and kind of like pulling the energy up. It really, I mean, it does things, man. You're going to feel so buttery and yummy, and sometimes you'll get emotional release, but it opens you up to this energy of receiving. I'll do this with you all. It's sounding really good to me. Actually, I might do this tonight. It sounds like it could be really good for me tonight. And then, you know, with the extra oil you have after you really work the breast, and then everything feels really buttery and warmed up and liquidy, then you can go down and you can do clockwise circles on the abdomen, and same thing, just do little circles anywhere where you feel kind of like stuck energy, or you can kind of comb the energy through, okay, where you feel like a little congestion in the belly. And just make sure you keep the energy moving clockwise, because that works with the natural detoxification channels. And hell, if you really want to amp it up, then when you're done with that, if you want to, like, you know, give yourself a little pleasure, a little self-pleasuring and a little release, that can be a beautiful ritual. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. And just giving your body that love and allowing yourself to receive that sensual time, care, attention. It's amazing how healing that can be. I'm good. How are you? It's good to see you. Welcome. Glad to have you here. We're doing a little support work for those who deal with food or body image issues that are going through the VATA Panchakarma and Grace in Crisis Panchakarma. Oh, well, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here. So let me give you a little feedback, a little like background so you know what we're dealing with. Thank you about the tattoo. This is actually a medicine piece. Let me try to show, it's not going to show up really good on camera here. I'll have to take a picture and put it up on the community board. This is Kali in DV form. This is a medicine piece. I noticed her, you know, she's got her mala of skulls on. Yes, it was a healing piece for me. It's her DV form in her Chamunda form, the trauma goddess, right? And it's very symbolic for me. So thank you so much for noticing that. I have a community Panchakarma going on my sister channel. I'll put a link in the comments after we're done with this live on Broad Coven. Okay, Broad Coven means broad perspective, broad range, broad walks of life. We got everybody, no matter their spiritual beliefs, no matter their economic status, no matter their cultural background, we got everybody gathered there together. I do readings on that channel, but I also deal with societal issues. I talk about, you know, important topics, and I am an Ayurvedic practitioner. I'm also an intuitive eating counselor, and I'm very roots Ayurveda. So I have a website, cobrasmedicinebag.com, and I've opened up all of my Ayurvedic courses in the Dosha Discovery Series for free to the public, and they're going to stay completely free. And right now, if you go to cobrasmedicinebag.com, you will see on the homepage direct links. Yes, yeah, I'm going to be bringing in some readings here too. They're going to be a little different. The kind of readings here are going to be a little bit different. They're going to be focused in a different direction than on Broad Coven. I do tons of readings on Broad Coven. That's like, it's a reading channel. It's very focused on that. So that's a good place to look. I have several channels, but I'll put the link to that for you. But if you look on the homepage of Cobra's Medicine Bag, and I'll have all these links in the comments after the live, so it'll be really easy for you to look up this information. There is buttons where you can access, you know, all you have to do, click the button and you're right into the VATA course. It's called Roots with Wings. 6 weeks to VATA resilience. And then I also have the Grace in Crisis course, which is also all about Ayurvedically based approach to dealing with times of crisis and transition in our lives. And I'm merging both courses together right now. We just started, so your timing is perfect. Thank you. Thank you. I'm putting this up. I like seeing this. This makes me feel really good. It's seva, you know, and those who know Ayurveda know that seva is very much roots Ayurveda. So on Broad Coven, I lead the community there through Panchakarma, a self-care oriented Panchakarma, but I guide as the Ayurvedic practitioner. And we do this for 6 weeks, 3 times a year. We do it in Vata season, we do it in Kapha season, we do it in Pitta season. So wonderful to have you here, and I hope you will access those courses. And I do lives on Broad Coven for the Panchakarma on Wednesdays and Saturdays, okay? Yes, I had a feeling. I noticed the name. I'm like, I know they know about Ayurveda. So yes, we do lives there to support, and the whole community is going through it, so it's great. But over here, I'm holding special space for people that are dealing with food or body image issues, and just how they can adapt this information. So it's important. It's so important. And I have to say, I feel like that's really something that's been distorted in the West when it comes to the practice of Ayurveda. Yeah, it's a shame, and it's something that definitely needs to be addressed. Seva is the heart. It's the heart of Ayurveda, you know? So thank you for acknowledging that. And of course, you know, it comes straight from India, and has the 411, has the info on that. So love to have you here. I'm just about to get into the card. I'm going to just do a little brief reading, just to kind of close up this live. Replay will remain up, but this is what I'm recommending for everybody as some self-care this week, just to give some breast massage, you know, open up Anahata, open up the heart chakra, allow yourself to receive this nurturing. And there's this beautiful release, I feel, that's going to happen as a result of this. You're going to release this, like, kind of like, it feels like it's a firewall that's in the heart center. Maybe been dealing with some frustration in matters of the heart. Maybe there is something inside that has caused you to become self-protective or defensive and put up this firewall around the heart. So I feel like there's this softening and this release that needs to happen in order for the heart center to open. But I see that it looks almost as if as this release happens, there's also this energy that comes in from spirit that helps support, you know, it's like this nurturing energy flows into the heart center and opens up this space, and it kind of bridges the gap. This is about really learning how to dissolve your resistance to receiving, I feel. I don't do personal reads on my lives, but I am available for personal readings, and I have extremely reasonable rates. So if you're ever interested in that, you can shoot me an email to broadcoven@gmail.com. And that's where I do all my readings through. So I'm going to go ahead and read her definition of this, because I always like to honor the artist's words with this particular deck. And they have a healing process that I'll go ahead and lead you all through. So Cupio Dissolvi, it says, it is time to let go. Things are working out in their own way. Trust that your heart is wise and is leading you on a soul healing journey and the right spiritual path. Spirit wants to bring you a blessing and a resolution, but you must let go and allow it to happen. Events are unfolding according to a higher plan. Even if your plans are going awry, know that all will come together at the right time and in the best way possible. Give over your struggle and hold on to your faith. You do not need to be in control in order to be safe and have things work out in the best possible way. In an often spiritually deficient modern culture, we have developed a kind of mystical amnesia. We have forgotten the genuine, effective, and astonishing power of spiritual intervention that can be evoked by an open heart. This oracle brings you a message from Spirit. There is a problem in your life that seems very real and substantial. Yet if you approach it from a more mystical perspective, desiring spiritual connection and healing, that issue can dissolve. It can be absorbed into spiritual light and be healed. It can transform in such a way that your current viewpoint of suffering will cease to exist. There is a path for healing you have to recognize. As you let go of what you think should or must be, you will recognize a perhaps unexpected path to your true healing and inner fulfillment opening up before you. The Latin phrase Cupio Dissolvi refers to a desire to dissolve, to be absorbed into the luminosity of the soul, where there is beauty, relief, and peace. To enter into such a state requires a loosening of our attachments and fixations upon our problems in the physical world. This does not mean we deny our troubles. In letting go, we give Spirit permission to heal the state of heart and mind that has led us into these difficulties. It can be surprising just how much we hold on to things we wish to be freed from. It might help you let go if you reflect on what would be different for you if this problem is no longer in your life. Sometimes we might hold on to pain, hoping to gain acknowledgement from a certain person who may just lack the emotional capacity and spiritual development to grant us a heartfelt apology. Sometimes we punish ourselves by holding on to pain, holding impossible and unhelpful standards of inhuman perfection when we could forgive ourselves and move on. Spiritually, we have the power to forgive and free ourselves and others. There's so much to be gained in doing so. It is a way to heal the heart from emotional poison, awaken inner peace and freedom, and move forward with our lives. As we forgive and enter the temple of the heart, we can see beautiful visions of what is now possible. Feelings of euphoria may awaken. We realize we have set ourselves free from the past. A constraint that once weighed heavily upon our hearts has been cast off by our spiritual will. Knowing we have such a beautiful power within can bring gratitude and wonder into our hearts. In the spiritual landscape of the heart, we let go of what we think and engage with what we feel. The true mystical experience of divine love is not just emotional, it is transfiguring. It helps us transform ourselves and our lives. This oracle guides you to immerse yourself in the spiritual light within your heart. A beautiful and uplifting outcome is being offered to you. Trust spirit, let go, and receive. Just let you see that imagery again. It's so beautiful. And then she has a healing process here that I'm going to go ahead and lead you all through. And then we'll just get one round of cards from the angels and see what they have to say in light of what got brought forward today on this live. So go ahead and just take a moment and just settle into your chair or wherever you happen to be seated. Or maybe you're laying down, that's fine too. Just make sure you're in a nice, comfortable position. Close your eyes, turn your attention inward. Maybe rest a hand on your heart and a hand over your navel, on your belly, and just take some nice deep breaths, taking in that prana, breathing all the way down into your lower belly, letting your lower belly rise and fall, and just follow the exhalation all the way out on that release. And then inhale again, bringing in a little Durga pranayama, breathing all the way down to the belly. Let the belly rise, and then carry that prana all the way up to your solar plexus, right in the front body where the rib cage meets, and let it expand your ribs out to the side. And then again, exhale, following the exhalation all the way out onto the release. And now the final part, the Durga pranayama. Take a nice inhalation all the way down to the lower belly. Let the lower belly rise. Carry it up to the solar plexus, to Manipura chakra. Let the ribcage expand gently out to the side. And now carry that prana all the way up into the heart center and allow your clavicle just to open, spread open, opening the heart center, and exhale completely. I'm going to lead you through this process. Consider any problem you have been wrestling with, or a painful situation or interpretation of events to which you are attached. If you are willing to do so, you can now set an intention to offer that attachment to spirit through this healing process. Place a hand on your heart and consciously connect to the flow of your breath. Internally, rest your gaze and for several moments, just feel what it feels like to be in your internal landscape. Imagine, feel, or intend that you are now aware of your heart, experiencing it from the inside, as though you were sitting in the middle of your heart chakra. From deep within the center of your heart, a pure white spiritual light begins to radiate outward. It feels joyful, uplifting, peaceful, expansive. Now we practice bhavana, a Sanskrit word that means infusion. Allow the white light to gently infuse into your being, like a sacred tea, subtly perfuming and encircling your soul. The white light is being absorbed into your cells, into your mind, into your heart. You feel more settled, peaceful, and blissful as this process unfolds. Intend to release your offering into the light now, letting it go from your heart. In the light, it can dissolve and transform. This process can be gentle and powerful. Sense that you, your light, and the offering are one. Complete this practice with manalaya, a Sanskrit word meaning immersion and complete absorption. Gracefully choose to let everything else go and settle into being one within the light. Take your time. and gently emerge from your luminous contemplation when you are ready. Ground yourself, and you have completed this healing practice. So you can always come back to this. This is something that I will timestamp, okay? Give me a little time. Give me a little time once this live is wrapped up. But if you come back later this evening and you look on this live, the replay, there'll be timestamps for you to locate everything. I'm going to go ahead and pull out just a few cards from the angels just to see any additional information they want to give you all. So we're going to just do a little mini read, just one pass of the cards to see if there's any guidance that the angels would like to bring in for all of you as you step forward into your own unique expression of the Panchakarma experience, as you take these steps to heal your relationship with food and your body and come into this place of self-nurturing and self-care, self-love, and really allow yourself to open up and to receive. What kind of guidance do you have for those gathered on this live or who are gathered on the replay, angels, to support them in opening up to receive so they understand the way that Spirit wants to pour into them, so they understand what's on the other side of opening up to this softness and this sweetness and vulnerability. Bottom of the deck energy, we have Knight of Wands, protection. So this is all about allowing Spirit to offer you this protection that sometimes in order for us to feel protected and to feel held, it requires us to open up and to ask for the support that we need. Then we can truly feel like we have that reinforcement. And so this exercise that we just did was very much about opening up. Hello, Angela. It's good to see you, bringing you in. I've been bringing everybody in who's been coming into the room. We're closing up here. I got a little bit later of a start today, but watch the replay. There's a lot of good information here. And we're going to start a book club here. I'm excited. So we decided that the first book that we're going to read together is going to be the Yoga Aphorisms of Patanjali. And there's a book out there. It's a translation, a more modern translation. It's called How to Know God. And we're going to do a book club. And it's all about the yogic path. It goes really deep into yoga. And I think you'd really dig it. I know you love yoga, so you would really dig it. But we'll meet here once a week and we'll talk about the book. I think it'll be really exciting. We'll just go chapter by chapter. And then once we're through with that book, we'll pick another book. We'll pick it as a community, something that's about personal growth, something that's about the yogic path, you know, any kind of healing modality, and we'll journey through it together. I think it'll be really kind of cool. So this is about taking the initiative with the Knight of Wands. This is about taking some kind of action, an action you've never taken before. And when we're looking at this protection piece, I feel like this is about you not only preserving what's sacred to you, which what's more sacred than creating time and space for your own healing journey. I think this is very necessary. You know, create some boundaries around having time and space to give yourself self-care, to nurture yourself. This is so essential, to allow yourself to have the space to give yourself the care that you need. Beyond this, I also feel like something that's very hard for people to do that struggle with food and body image issues is to reach out for support, whether that be support from a support group, some kind of support community, or whether it's turning to a loved one and saying, hey, I'm struggling with something, I could use your support. So I feel this is also about kind of like speaking your truth, taking an action to make sure that you're creating a safe space for yourself to do the healing work that you're here to do. Let's see what else is coming forward here. Well, that wanted to come out right away. What else is coming forward, angels, to help people open up to receiving the support they need, receiving what wants to come in for their healing? We just had this one card slide off the top. Let's see. The Hermit. Okay, so this is really about you carving out time for yourself. And I'm noticing the scythe here that's coming in. So this is about cutting off what is maybe a time waster, cutting off what is distracting you from giving care, time, attention to this personal self-care, to the healing work you need to do. You also may be in a time of great transition, and so there's a need to do a little bit of alchemy work. You know, there's some transmutation work to do. You have a lot that you're looking at. You might be kind of pulling stuff up from the basement. You know, you're like pulling stuff up from your subconscious. You're starting to look at the roots of where things kind of went off track, how you ended up in the place you are now, and you're addressing these things. You're holding space for the emotions. Maybe you have emotional clearing work to do that you never allowed yourself to do. I feel like this is coming through very strongly. I think you're also like just trying to discover your own internal rhythms, what works for you, and creating a lifestyle that really supports you in feeling your best, and also ensuring that you have enough time to pour back into yourself with as much as you pour into the projects you have going on in your life, your work, others that you tend to and care for. Okay. But I see like you're carving out time for yourself. I feel like that's what you're doing, and you're cutting off time wasters. You're also cutting off connections that don't feel supportive, and you're wanting to bring more into your life that will really uplift you and support you in this healing and transformation work that you're doing. You got alchemy and transformation, rules natural events, and helps with spiritual progress. So this is very wise, where you're taking steps to carve out time for yourself. It's going to lead to a lot of spiritual growth for you. You're going to feel more aligned with your path. And it's also going to bring in the kind of support that you need. But it first starts with you, you know, you really setting down those boundaries, cutting off what's not serving you, not spending time with people who drag you down or waste your time or put too much on you, and allowing yourself to take back some of that precious time and energy and pour it back into yourself. Let me see any further guidance, angels, before we get a split of the deck and close off this session today? Okay, we have one card come out here. They're being very economical today. Two of Wands in reverse, okay? So right now you're having a hard time seeing the way forward. That's what's coming through. Like you're not really sure what your options are. You may feel like you got sort of a hazy view of your future. But the reason why you feel like that is because you're too distracted by things that are kind of like on the periphery and they're not really important. This is why it's so essential for you to like pull your energy back with the Hermit, take some time to yourself. Understand what is really siphoning your energy, what is keeping you in this space of feeling cut off from your own vision for your future, your own guidance, your own awareness, your own connection to your life. Okay, it's like there's too many of other people's influence, ideas, suggestions, advice, you know, you name it, narrative that's playing a role in what you're seeing as possible for yourself. And right now you're not seeing a way forward. A lot of you are feeling really stuck. You feel like this is just the way things are. Things aren't going to get better. I just have to deal with this. And that is not true. Okay, so something really needs to shift here. You're going to discover this once you pull your energy back. And some of you are spending time and energy on people who really aren't supporters of you. Like these people don't have the best of intentions for you. This is very clear with the information coming out here. It says, love and wisdom, victory over those who would attack you. Okay, but it's in reverse. So this means right now you're susceptible. So if you're feeling held back and you're feeling like you don't have a clear way forward toward your future, if there's confusion there, the reason why you're feeling like that is you have saboteurs around you. You know, these are people that would turn on you on the drop of a dime, and yet you're having a lot of loyalty to these people. And there's something that needs to really become clear here for you. But there's this piece about you won't have this clarity until you carve out time for yourself to sink into your own experience, away from the peanut gallery, away from other people's judgments, away from other people's opinions. For some of you that are struggling with things on social media, this may mean like taking a little break from social media. What does it feel like to unplug and instead focus on self-care? What does it feel like to, instead of, you know, checking in and on what's going on Instagram, what's going on Facebook, or, you know, what's going on TikTok, what does it feel like instead to take in things that are more nourishing for your soul? You know, maybe read a book, or maybe, you know, tune into a live like this, you know, where the focus is on growth and support. or maybe use that time to go and connect with a support group. Think about the ways that you're using your time and whether that's actually contributing something to your life or whether it's putting you in a position where you're feeling like you're being held back, or you're feeling like you're just kind of stuck in this one note experience where you're not feeling like there's any progressive energy happening. Okay, the progression happens when you start to disentangle yourself from what currently has you held up at the crossroads, right? And it's coming from outside of yourself. It's coming from something you're engaged in, people that you're hanging out with. There's something that you are giving too much time and energy, and it's actually working against you. And it looks like this could turn against you, in fact. You might be dealing with some people who have some ulterior motives. I want more information about this. I want to know, what is the deal, Angel, with these people that need to be cut off? Can you give some clarity about this? Because that's kind of an important message coming through. I mean, our connections, the people that we trust, if that's in question, that's something we want to be aware of, something very important to look at here. Crossing influence, the world. Okay, you may be dealing with a fixed sign energy, Taurus, Aquarius, Leo, Scorpio. Okay. This could also be too much in a fixed position. You're just used to hanging out with this crowd of people. You're used to your usual routine. It feels awkward, uncomfortable to shake it up. You're feeling awkward about heading off in a new direction. Maybe you used to really resonate with these people. Maybe you used to really resonate with this lifestyle. It doesn't work for you anymore. You're being called in a different direction. Your soul is asking you to expand. Anytime we move into expansion, we have to let some stuff go. It's just the way that it works. You have to separate the wheat from the chaff. What's worth keeping and what, you have to kind of like chalk it up to the game. That's the way it goes. But there's something that is holding you back here from your seeing a new way forward. And it's that you're caught in this old cycle that should have been brought to an end. You probably already have a sense around this. Maybe you've even confronted these people. Maybe you've spoken a truth. Maybe you've already taken some kind of action. And maybe you're doubting that action, okay? Maybe you're getting caught up in the machinations of the mind. Maybe you're feeling guilty for taking this action of self-preservation, maybe you're feeling guilty for standing up for yourself. There's many different factors that can be playing into this, but there's this piece coming in about, no, this is meant to be brought to a conclusion. You're not meant to continue on this way. You're not meant to continue pouring into these people. You're not meant to continue to go down this track, because this is what's blocking you. And it's actually working against you. Once you bring this to completion with the world, it's fountains of wisdom. It's success in all ventures, okay? This has been blocking you, all right? Whatever you've been holding on to and you're still clinging to it, this is blocking you from the success you want to see. This is blocking you from your forward motion. There's something you need to change here. And again, you could be dealing with a fixed sign energy, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, right? This could be any strong placement in the chart. I think we're going to get a cut of the deck on this because this feels really complete and clear to me about the work that needs to be done. Carve out this time for yourself. Drop in with the lessons, okay? Drop in with the lessons for Grace in Crisis and for the VATA course, Roots with Wings. Just drop into the material. Start working with the focus for this week. Tune into the support videos, all right? Both on, this channel on Cobra's Medicine Bag and on the main channel for the Panchakarma Broad Coven, all right? All the resources will be in the comments of this video. And give yourself this opportunity to, receive, maybe you can even, as you're doing your breast massage, as you're doing your belly massage and you're opening up these channels and you're having this release, maybe you can even use that visualization. I'll timestamp it for the White Light Oracle, and it can kind of lead you through that process. Maybe this can be a whole kind of self-care ritual you can do to move you into this place of receptivity where you can actually allow the solution to start to come in, and where it can become clear to you what you need to let go so you can move forward. I feel like this is very essential. Yeah, I mean, I see you've been in this place, bottom of the deck energy, 4 of Cups. You've been very disappointed. And there's some kind of healing you've been looking for. some kind of healing, and also a sense of celebration that you feel has really eluded you. You know, you feel like you're just dealing with the same old, you know, you're always feeling let down. Things never come to pass the way you think they're going to. But only you can change that. You know, when we see the traditional Four of Cups card, Spirit is like holding out an Ace of Cups to you. And Spirit's giving you the key. But the figure, you know, just like this work we're talking about opening up the heart to receive, the figure in the traditional Rider-Waite Four of Cups is like this. And they're all closed off. Their heart center is closed. Anahata is not open. And they're looking at the three cups. I didn't get the healing I wanted. I didn't get the celebration I wanted. And I'm just going to sit here like this. Well, nothing can come in like this. We've already covered this before on Broad Coven. You can't receive anything like this. Just like you can't receive anything like this. No. Soften, soften, soften. Right? Soft, open hands. Soft, open hands. This is reminding me of a Tantra Kriya. I'll look it up. There's a lot coming in for you all to actually work with different like Kriyas and different methods for what you're dealing with. But it works with a very specific mantra. I'm going to go ahead and bring in the mantra, all right? Once come in, I'm going to just hold this mudra. It works with this mudra, which is like very symbolic of the lotus flower. And we know with the lotus, no mud, no lotus, okay? So I'm just going to do this mantra 3 times. It's an invoking mantra for Tantra, okay? Yes, absolutely, Angela. It is. Okay, this is how you open up to Tantra. Now, in the West is not what actual Tantra is, okay? In the West, Tantra has been overly sexualized. Now, is connecting sexually and raising the energy for conscious expansion an aspect of Tantra? Yes, it's an aspect of Tantra, though. It is not the whole practice of Tantra. There's many different things involved in Tantra. There's Kriyas, there's meditations, there's work with the chakra centers, there's work with the Kundalini, okay? There's yoga. People really need to understand this. The way that yoga, Ayurveda, the wisdom of the Vedas has been appropriated, culturally appropriated in the West and distorted, all right? So I'm really here to honor the roots of the tradition, and I've been fortunate enough and blessed enough to actually work with Ayurvedic doctors in India. I've gone through Sadhguru's inner engineering program. I know Tetsing, who is a teacher of an Ayurvedic school in India. He also does work in Tibet. So I really feel a great responsibility to always honor the roots. So I'm going to just bring this in because I feel like that's what's really coming through for this group. So maybe we'll bring a lot of tantric infusion onto the Cobra's Medicine Bag channel. This could be really good because, again, Westerners have such a skewed perception of Tantra. So maybe we'll start bringing a little bit of Tantra energy into Cobra's Medicine Bag, along with the readings we'll do here, which will be more like spiritually oriented, okay, spiritual path oriented. I think that could be really illuminating for people. I like this. This feels good to me. Take it more in a Tantra direction. But I'm going to go ahead and bring in this mantra just 3 times so you can tap into the energy signature of it. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this feels right. This feels right. This feels right to me. I think that's the direction we're going to take it here on Cobra's Medicine Bag. I'm going to focus on Tantra. I'm going to focus on Tantra, and the readings on this channel will be very much focused on like the path, working the path. It'll be like life path readings, okay? So more spiritually oriented readings, consciousness expansion readings, maybe even yogic readings, you know. We'll look into it. We'll see what comes forward, but this feels like the right direction. And it's good. I've been wondering what direction should we go? And this feels really right for this channel, especially with the work we're doing here for people with food and body image issues. Tantra can be a beautiful path to healing those issues. So it all is right in tandem. Ah, I love it. Perfect. I'd like to have like drop-in live sessions too, where we can do things like we can practice yoga together, you know, things along these lines. So we'll look, maybe I'll start doing some of my yoga, you know, bringing in my stuff that I like to do here. You know, we'll figure it out, okay? But this is a creative space we're entering here at the Cobra's Medicine Bag channel, okay? I know you've been wanting that, Angela. So I think it could be a great way to build community too. And I bring a lot of fusion stuff into my yoga. And when I do, I make it clear that it's a fusion. Okay. So I'll bring in, you know, a little bit of everything I do, you know, when I do a session. Maybe we'll even bring in some dance, you know, and exploring movement and all of this. Maybe some laughter yoga over here too. Okay. So it could be fun. We could have some interesting stuff we bring in here. I'm excited now. I've been looking for a clear vision of this channel and what it's meant to be, and this feels very, very clear. And now I got a whole direction to take the website too over there. All right, okay, I'm feeling this. I'm going to go ahead and do a cut of the deck energy. Last words from the angels here. Queen of Pentacles, intellectual lucidity, provides consolation and compensation. So yes, this is all about you really knowing your worth, understanding your worth, understanding your value, knowing your worth this time, this energy, this care. When we're looking at that Pentacles energy, this is very much about grounded in material reality. Like, it is important for you to give yourself this time, care, and attention. Some of you may have been feeling even like a little bit of financial blockage. Like, you're like, I feel like, you know, I'm not getting ahead financially, or money's been really tight. You feel like you're not in the flow of abundance. There's a real key piece, okay, involved in being in the flow of abundance. And it's not just about doing the work and the energy output all the time. The other part of that equation is being able to receive. So if you're in a space where you're trying to control things too much, you're grasping for things, where your heart's closed off, like your channels for receiving are closed. And so until you address this, you won't be able to really see that financial flow and being supported materially come into your life. But once you move into this place of openness and receptivity and you unlock the heart center, you'd be surprised how fast things start to turn around. Then that support can come in. Then you enter that flow of reciprocity. And it's not just materially, it's not just financially, it's also within your relationships. You know, people want to be able to pour into you too, you know, but before you can really pour into others and do so in a way that's healthy, you have to fill your own cup first, right? Because if your coffers are empty and you're pouring out your last little couple drops of ojas, you know, into somebody else, what state do you think you're going to be in giving that energy? You're going to be coming from a place of resentment. That doesn't help you. It only further depletes you. And it certainly doesn't help the person you're pouring into. You're doing both of you a disservice. So this is important, okay? schedule your self-care, pencil it in. You know, you're just as important as any other commitments you have in your life. And in fact, your health is your wealth. Your well-being is your wealth. And if you're not in a place where you're feeling, you know, filled up, everything that you bring to the table, all of your offerings, they're spoiled. You know, they have no worth. They have no value because they're not coming from a place of a full, open heart that actually wants to extend yourself, wants to give, wants to be of service, wants to uplift, wants to provide that love, that nurturing, that support. Okay, so this is like big, like if mama ain't happy, ain't no one happy energy. You know, you need to make sure that you're filling your cup before you go and start pouring yourself into things that are really only going to deplete you, because it looks like you have some people around you that just like to take and take and take and take and take, and they never pour back in. And that's the amazing thing that happens when you start to cut off these energies and you start to reroute that attention and you pour into yourself. This amazing thing happens. What happens is suddenly you start drawing people to you that they want to pour into you too. And now you find you got these beautiful cooperative connections. Now things start to flower in your life. Now things start to grow. And all those people who were holding you back, well, they're just, you know, they're just left behind, you know, and they'll figure it out. They have to find their own way, just like you have to find your own way. We all go through this. I've just recently gone through a period where I had to cut off a lot of things. I had to, out of absolute necessity. I'm not getting into that here, but I had to let go of all my social media. Okay, so I released Facebook, I released Instagram. I'm not on TikTok anymore. I mean, I still have my TikTok account up, but I'm not creating there. I'm focusing all my energy here on YouTube. And I also had to like cut off certain connections, people that just were inserting themselves into intimate matters, people who were inserting themselves into my private business, people who were uninvited, barging into matters that had absolutely nothing to do with them. It was a severe boundary violation. It was an intimacy violation. And it was a complete disregarding of me actually speaking up for myself and saying, hey, I'm fine, I'm good. I need time to pour into myself. I need time to care for myself. I don't have the energy, the bandwidth to deal with this right now. And it was completely disregarded. There comes a point where sometimes you have to draw down some boundary lines and say, hey, you're actually working against me right now, having what I need to be in a space where I can be supported, where I can heal, and where I can show up in the way I need to in my life. And so you may be dealing with some similar kind of energies where the energies that are around you, the people that are around you, the things that you're engaged in, they're siphoning from you. It's not supportive, and you need to redress that. And sometimes that initially looks like feeling a little bit like you're on your own, like you got to go your own way. And initially you may feel a little kind of like, well, where did everybody go? You know, I don't feel like the support is there that I used to think I had. But that's the thing, it wasn't necessarily a true support. You know, it was a support that came with strings attached. Okay, so as you start to kind of head off in your own direction, you get to drop back into your own energy again. Things become a little more clear for you. You see things a little more accurately, and then you can get the lay of the land, and you start to draw new energies towards you, right? So give yourself time, be patient, and allow yourself to have this space to receive. It's going to turn everything around for you. Yeah, and you should really protect this space with the 9 of Wands. Because I see with the 9 of Wands, you've been through it, all right? 9 of Wands is like, you've really had to be in this position of just like bracing yourself for the next thing for so long. And it's time to let down this defensiveness. It says universal medicine, elevation of the soul, and the revelation of mysteries. So where you can't see clearly, where you don't know the next step, where everything does seem like a mystery to you, the sooner that you step into this universal medicine, which, what is the universal medicine? The universal medicine is love. And love starts with you, okay? It starts within yourself. You got to tap into the love within yourself, the part inside of you that knows that you're worthy of care, time, attention. You're worthy of this space being held for you. And only you can define it for yourself. Only you can preserve it, and only you can protect it, okay? Ted says yes to that. So make sure you're doing that. Make sure you're giving yourself time for this. the more that you do this, the more elevation you're going to experience, and the more the mystery will be resolved, and you'll finally have that aha moment, and you'll know your way forward, because the more you do this, the road is just going to rise up to meet you. So this is a really beautiful energy that came in. I like this message. It feels good. This feels complete. Now we have a whole direction for the channel. I will get, a live going. We'll set a date for our first meeting for the book club group. And our first book we'll be reading is How to Know God, the Yoga Aphorisms of Patanjali. Okay, and so I'll put all that information, resources will be all up on this live replay by this evening. Okay, so you can drop back in here, get all the information you need. And I just want to say thank you to all of you who showed up. Thank you for being patient with me while I was challenged to get here at the time I set today. I'm glad that I gave myself that extra rest, though. I really did need it. And I'll be on Broadcoven later to do a Cauldron of Dagda reading for those who are questing for the 4 jewels of the Tuatha De Danann. So stay tuned for that. And I hope that you have a beautiful day. Is there any questions before I sign off? Anything you want to bring in? I'm going to take a little sip of my dirty chai here. We all good? I think we're all good. Okay. Have a lovely day. Thank you so much to all of you who were able to make the live. Replay will remain up. Please, if you have any questions, anything you need to bring in on the replay, comment. I'll be responsive. I'll be sure to address them. I'll be back here on the Cobras Medicine Bag channel this evening just to drop in and check the comments, make sure there's nothing I need to address. So I will get to you, all right? And I hope that you have a beautiful day. And I hope you'll join us in the community Panchakarma that's going down on the Broadcoven channel. So I'll put that link right away on the comments of this video. So you can head on over there, check out that download we had come in. It was over 4 hours that I did the other day to kick it off. So a lot of resources there as well that will kind of like cross over to the work we're doing here too. All right. Take care. Have a beautiful day. And I look forward to seeing you next Thursday when we drop in again.